And we can actually be heard this time. Hello, YouTube.
Hey, no technical difficulties this time.
Yeah, it seems like that's not been a given recently. But yes, hello. We are here for Dark Tower Palaver. This is our podcast. We've been doing for years, but we're doing here on YouTube as well. So what you're basically watching now is a podcasting recording. So it will be long. It's not like a little short 10-minute YouTube thing. So we do have at least a few videos like that, and more hopefully coming. Trailers haven't been as forthcoming as we would hope. But
Damn it, Salem's Lot getting postponed.
yeah, and then we still have some content we want to do. We'll probably at least get one thing that I have in my mind thrown out on YouTube as a kind of a smaller content thing. But so here for roundtable number 126. Hello, Josh. Hello, Carol. Welcome. I'll tell the story for the YouTube side at least. I hung out with Hayden last week.
Okay.
And he was like, he's not familiar. He's started the first book, but got somewhat through it, but nowhere near familiar enough with the Dark Tower series. He was thrown off when someone said Heil Hayden. He's like, wait, what?
What does that mean?
So it made me laugh because it's just, again, we've talked about it over the years. How much do we use Dark Tower slang in our normal lives? And I mean, he's joining our show, so it's totally fun.
You said thank you side of the pizza guy?
Yeah, that's probably my biggest Dark Tower slip when it comes to
close the door.
What else do you say? I mean, you could try to explain it, but I just feel like
that just makes it worse.
Yeah, that's where it's like dinner party for The Office.
It.
It just
Stop it.
It drags out. It'd be easier if you just went nope and then pieced out, but rather to try to hang with it and try to explain it, it just makes it so much worse. So, or maybe that's Scott's Tots trying to explain it. So yeah, let's. We got a couple minutes, but we'll get started here in just a second. But yeah, roundtable 126. This should be our last one to where we'll be back on normal schedule again. This is actually would have been when we would have recorded originally. So last week's was delayed a week. So yeah, today's and forward we should be back on schedule of every fortnight.
There's Chad's excuse to say fortnight.
It's a fun word.
It's all right. I've heard better.
I mean, there's a lot of fun words, but that's a fun word I like.
You know what word I really love? Nugget. It's a nugget of information. Yeah, I'll take some nuggies.
Yeah, I think Nugget's been ruined by the food quite a bit.
I just love it. I love Nugget.
All right, so let's go ahead and it's a couple minutes early, but let's go ahead and hit the intro and get started into the roundtable. We got a lot of fun stuff to talk about.
The Dark Tower by Stephen King. The man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed. Go then. There are other worlds than these. Death, but not for you, gunslinger. It's time we had our own Palaver, I think, and it's going to take a while.
And yet, dauntless, the slug horn to my lips I set, and blew. Child Roland to the Dark Tower came.
We are content, one from many. Let the Palaver begin.
Hello and welcome to Dark Tower Palaver. This is our podcast covering Stephen King's magnum opus, the Dark Tower series. My name is Tad.
And I'm Peter, the traumatized one.
And we're here for roundtable number 126. Traumatized, what, because of last week?
So last week, he makes me go and see Beast. Big, horrifying line.
And it was
Ted
great.
Enjoyed himself way too much for that. I mean, we talked about it last week on the show.
It was wonderful.
And then this week...
Well, then last week we also covered the giant cymbal monkey.
The giant cymbal monkey. Then this week, just yesterday, for our Patreon hangout, we watched Creepshow, which has the original OG. Found out it has a name, Fluffy.
Yeah, Fluffy.
The crepe monkey of Doom.
Yeah, you gotta love it.
And so I had all that.
He just wants to snuggle.
Today, the wife is like, we need to go to Spirit Halloween. It opened up. And I'm like, yeah, sure, it'll be fun. There's a big one just down the street from us. So we went, and guess what's there? Marty. What'd I say?
I don't remember.
We literally just talked about this before we went on the air.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
now you said the wrong name, so.
Yeah, giant cymbal monkey was there. Luckily, it wasn't like plugged in and working, but so
The actual one that we covered last week.
the giant 6-foot one was there. So, yeah, I'm just like,
Let's see. I'm trying to pull it up here. Just see the Monty.
Monty.
Yeah, Monty is what they've named it. So yeah, so you saw it in person.
Yeah.
So it's been quite the 7-8
It's
days for you.
It's been quite the little bit of last week. I'm done. I'm done. It's gonna be nice. I'm not gonna lie. It's gonna be nice having a weekend off from you. Finally.
And Josh mentioned in the chat, Beast is the one in which Idris Elba's daughter did an audition and got denied. Yes.
Is it?
That's a story that just came out recently. Yeah. Apparently
Oh.
she didn't talk to him for like 3 weeks. The director said they didn't have any chemistry together.
Whoops.
So yes, that was a fun little story that came out of Beast with our gunslinger Idris Elba. So let's go ahead and hit the intro stuff real quick. Get that out of the way. First of all, I want to warn you about spoilers. This is a roundtable, so we will spoil things for the primary books, the Dark Tower series especially. So if you haven't finished the series, you may want to stick to our book club episodes. Those ones we keep our spoilers to the very end. It's isolated off. These ones though, they're going to pop up all over the place, like the symbol monkey in Stephen King's short story Monkey that just keeps popping up all over the place. And killing the whole family. I mean, not directly. It doesn't like use its symbols and like kill someone. No, it just it brings some sort of curse that causes people to die every time the cymbals clang. Which is still, why is that not a fucking movie, dude?
Yeah.
It just feels like that would have been like one that has been a movie and rebooted and has 7 sequels. Like it just feels like, I don't know. With everything I know about horror, that just feels like one that's so obvious. I can't believe that it's only like just some dollar baby independent movie that's been made on it or is being made on it. So let's see. Next up, if you want to find us, you can find us on Apple Podcasting. You can stream us on Spotify or Stitcher. You can find us on any podcasting service. If you could subscribe, rate, and review us on any of those services, that always helps the podcast get more exposure. Next up, if you want to join us live with a live stream, if you've been listening, you probably hear us interacting with people. Those people are joining us over at youtube.com/darktowerpalaver. If you like, subscribe, and ring the bell, you'll get notifications because we go live, generally speaking, every fortnight. We've had a little bit of a schedule shifting around this last little bit, but normally it's every fortnight we'll be here doing a live stream for the new episode. But go ahead and like, subscribe, and ring the bell. You'll get notifications for that, and you can join like all the people in the chat here with us and be part of the live conversation. Next up, if you want to find the show notes, you can do that at darktowerpalaver.com. That basically is the place for all things Dark Tower. You'll find links to pretty much everything that we have, whether it's the merchandise, whether it's all of our social media, YouTube,
ongoing challenges, the new questions for new listeners, or questions if you haven't answered them and you're an old listener, go fill them out.
Yeah, indeed. And then last up, if you want to support the show, you can do that at patreon.com/darktowerpalaver. Peter mentioned having the glorious fun hangout watching Creepshow yesterday. And actually that was a first for us because not only did we do an audio recording that you could kind of listen to and watch along the movie if you're a Patreon subscriber, but we also did a video version so you could actually watch Peter
react.
to
That's the
Fluffy.
other thing is that it was on video, so you're gonna see me like, what did I jump like 3-4 times?
Probably, yeah.
Like legit, like God, like jump physically out of my chair
every time the screen turned red.
Oh God, it was bad. I hate it.
So you can find all that over at Patreon, as well as having access to the Discord, where we have basically we have communication on that all the time. I don't know. There's been a number of times this past week where I get to work first thing in the early morning, and there's people on the further east that it's different time for them, and they already have some stuff in the chat to talk about. So all that could be found over at Patreon. And then if you want to contact us or interact with us in any other way, Peter can let you know the best ways to do that.
Best way is email. It's darktowerpalaver@gmail.com. You can find our social media. It's the Twitter is @DarkTowerPod. That's @DarkTowerPod. Then we got a Facebook page also. It's facebook.com/DarkTowerPalaver. And our Instagram is DarkTowerPalaver, all one word with no spaces. And then check out our merchandise. It's tpublic.com/users/DarkTowerPalaver.
Indeed, and I was just going to respond to the chat. Mike says working with family is not always easy in regard to Idris Elba and his daughter.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, that's definitely true. But yeah, it's definitely one of those fun little stories that came up. Not fun for her, but
Yeah.
I don't know. But I mean, the other thing I think she'd probably be mad at is that she's literally auditioning to play his daughter.
Yeah.
So like it's not like she's like playing like it's just some other random role. It's like, no, she's literally trying to audition to play the daughter, what she really is the daughter. It reminds me of the Seinfeld where like they're talking, because in Seinfeld they start to actually make the show Seinfeld,
Right.
And Kramer wants to play Kramer and they're like, you can't play Kramer. He's like, but I am Kramer.
But I am Kramer.
That's pretty much what I picture with Idris's daughter, with that whole thing there. So so let's go ahead and dive in. So the first one here, this one's going to be strange. And this actually, no, it's not going to be our oldest article we've ever covered, because we've had some from earlier, because we dived into the killing of Richard Bachman, and that brought us back quite a ways. But this is going to be one of the older ones
And
in
also,
a while.
both of us just read Dark Half, which is basically, pseudonym
Yeah.
rising up and everything like that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, no, I mean in terms of the date of this article.
Oh, yeah, gotcha.
We had some that have been actually gone older, because when we were doing the killing of Richard Bachman, I went and found like the New York Times article from
Gotcha.
right when it happened.
I misunderstood. My bad.
So yeah, this isn't the oldest article we've ever done, but it is an old one. It is Green Mile Oscar nominee owes a debt to Bruce Willis. And this is by Leanne Bonin from EW on February 16th, 2000. So it's been a while.
22 years.
Yeah, so this is basically what happened. There was an article that was kind of covering this story, and it came across my news desk, as it were. They ended up linking to this original EW article from the year 2000, and it just seemed like it had less fluff to it, and I was just like, well, I'll just cut straight to the damn article. And as normal, we cover the news articles. Generally speaking, we've broken that rule a few times, but generally we cover them in the order that they were published. So this is the first one we're going to cover. I also thought it was kind of a cool thing to cover too, because Bruce Willis, there's been news recently that he has some health problems. I forget what it is. He's got a degenerative disease of some kind, and he's actually known about it for a while. And it's actually kind of one of those ones where a lot of people that have been talking shit on him the last number of years, and some of the choices he's made for roles are suddenly feeling like assholes because he's known about this, and pretty much a payday's a payday for him at this point, because probably won't be able to act once this gets to him too much. So
aphasia.
Yeah. So
It's a language disorder.
Yeah.
So speech.
Yeah,
and he's an actor.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. So this one, let's go ahead and start. It says the Green Miles Michael Clark Duncan received a Best Supporting Actor nod on Tuesday for his role in Tom Hanks's Gentle Giant death row prisoner. That's a mouthful. John Coffey. If Duncan wins on March 26th, listen up for his thank you list. And then it's a quote here. I haven't thought of an Oscar speech yet, but if I do, I will mention Bruce Willis, says the 6'5", 315-pound actor. You could say he's my angel. And the thing there is 6'5", like that's big, but nowhere near as big as he is in the film.
He looks so much bigger.
They play him up. I mean, because I have this kind of. I actually created this image because they literally had like something like for a flip phone, cell phone picture of Michael Clark Duncan on the article, so I didn't want to take that. So I did cut the guy out, but the other guard, that guy's actually fairly tall as well. He's 6 foot something as well. Tom Hanks not as much, but. So then it goes on here and it says, and I also want to pause before we move on though and say, unfortunately, Michael Clark Duncan did not win this Oscar. He got the nomination, but Michael Caine ended up winning that Oscar in the year 2000 for 1999. I forget the name of the movie, but yeah, it was Michael Caine, not Michael Clark Duncan that won. And it says Willis earned his wings while working with Duncan on Armageddon in Orlando. A fan of Stephen King's The Green Mile book series, Willis realized his bulking co-star was custom made for the movie adaptation, which was already gearing up for production. So another thing we learned there is I didn't know that Bruce Willis was a Stephen King fan.
Is he really?
Yeah, it says he's a fan of Stephen King. It says he's a fan of Stephen King's The Green Mile, but like, I don't know. Are we going to assume that he's just a one-time King fan for one book? No, I'm sure he's probably a constant reader.
It's hard to see people be one book fans of King.
Just pop in for one thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not very common. It's not abnormal. It does happen, but it's not super normal. So I'd say, yeah, he's probably a King fan, which is cool. And then this is another quote. It says, he said, "I want you to go buy this book, read it, and when I get back to Los Angeles, I will call director Frank Darabont for you and tell him I have found John Coffey," Duncan says. So this is Duncan relaying the story.
Wow.
So Duncan told, or basically, while they were filming Armageddon, he told him, "Hey, go buy this book, read it. I'm gonna talk to Frank Darabont when I get back to L.A." So, again, a lot of thanks belongs to Bruce Willis here, because obviously, I don't know. We joked at one point because I actually found an article about who they were considering casting, and you were like, "I'm gonna punch someone if it was Shaquille O'Neal," and it was Shaquille O'Neal. So, but like honestly, there's no one else that could have filled this role. Like.
No.
He just did so perfectly. But going on here says, a fledgling actor who had small parts in Bulworth and the Players Club initially resisted tackling a, quote, heavy piece, but Willis assured him that he had the chops for the role. Darabont, though, was not convinced. Quote, "Maybe he was nervous in the reading, but I wasn't entirely sure when I first met him," says the director. "Still, there was something about his soul I couldn't let go of, and I kept coming back to him even as we were auditioning other actors, apparently including Shaquille O'Neal." And then the last bit here says, though Darabont finally cast Duncan, he hired an acting coach to work with him. Quote, "In the final analysis, it doesn't seem like he needed it," he laughs. "Once the camera started rolling, he was transformed, and to this day, I don't know where it came from." And Willis, he was our Yenta, which is a term for like matchmaker. I think it's a Yiddish phrase, says Darabont. "Our matchmaker, bless his heart." So again, yes, I would say as a Stephen King fan, thank you to Bruce Willis for making that happen, because yeah, that was a perfect casting. Maybe not as perfect as like Patrick Stewart as Charles Xavier or anything like that, but it's pretty damn close to perfect casting.
You know what? It's on the list. Like, if you're going to talk about perfect castings, I mean, Hugh Jackman is Wolverine, Patrick Stewart is Charles Xavier. Kathy Bates. Those ones always pop into my mind. Like instantly, but Michael Clark Duncan, when you look at it, that role was perfect for him.
Yeah.
And then Josh says in the chat, "I recently read The Green Mile. It was so good and so sad. I put it down for about a month or so after he healed the warden's wife. I saw the ending of the movie as a child. My parents were watching it. The scene of them picking Coffey's head up gently out of the chair is one of the childhood images that stuck with me. I don't want to read that. Amazing writing."
Yeah, it's a tough movie. I remember watching it as came out in '99. I would have been 14 if my birthday had hit. Yeah. So I was young, when it came out. So
yeah.
I do remember it as well. Definitely a sad movie. But yeah, I just thought it was a cool thing. Like I said, kind of a two-edged thing too. This popped up because again, somebody was just kind of rehashing this in a new article. But I was just like, yeah, with the shit going on with Bruce Willis, it's probably worth mentioning and kind of throwing some thanks out to him for getting us the perfect John Coffey.
Yeah, for sure.
Just like the drink, just not spelled the same.
Yep, that's what he says too.
All right, so this next one is one that I've actually, this is actually back from May of this year. But I think we had a busy episode or something, and I put it on, I have a list for future episodes, and to be honest, sometimes our episodes are so full I forget to look back at them. Sure. But this is a fun one, and it's 15 Stephen King novels that are just screaming to be adapted or readapted. And this is by Richard Newby from AV Club on May 12th, 2022.
So it's only novels.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I believe so. Let me go ahead and hit his intro, and then I have a little challenge for everyone to play along here.
Okay.
So he says, there's no contemporary writer who has had as many adaptations of their work as Stephen King. And I want to pause there. I wonder where King ranks for all-time authors for adaptations. Because I think you got to go with, what's his name for, I just blanked on his fucking name, the detective, Sherlock.
Oh, you also got Bond.
Yeah, but Bond's only got, 25 movies, plus there's that Casino Royale spoof, so...
Sherlock doesn't have that many movies.
Oh, Sherlock. I mean,
we're talking actual Sherlock, not Doctor Who spin-off, stuff like that, Also, the other one would be, what about Shakespeare?
Oh, yeah, Shakespeare's probably.
I just pulled up.
Yeah,
I pulled up below the list of the authors with the most television and film adaptations.
Bram Stoker. probably. Mary Shelley, potentially. I mean, those are at least ones to consider. But yeah, Shakespeare is probably going to be number one. But let's be honest, though. King's at least on the list, because as he goes on here, he says, since his first novel, Carrie, was brought to screen by Brian De Palma in 1976, King has been a Hollywood mainstay and an ongoing source for new material for his constant readers and watchers. And following the blockbuster success of It, King fans are enjoying a new renaissance. Not that he was ever far from the screens. And then this next bit is the part that kind of blew my mind a little bit. Despite over 60 adaptations and readaptations of his work. So, over 60. That's a shitload, man.
For King?
Yeah, for King. That's why I'm like, Bond doesn't even hold a candle.
Yeah, I'm not going to use this article then. It said this.
Oh, yeah, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Thank you, Mike. The name was kind of in my head, but nowhere near the tip of my tongue to throw out. I mean, I forgot Sherlock, for God's sake. But yes, 60 adaptations or readaptations of his work, novels and short stories. That's insane to me. That's a shitload. That's over double what Bond has right now. And he's not, what does Bond have, a decade or so head start? 1962 to 1976. So yeah, he has a head start too. It says there's still plenty of material left for filmmakers to explore and reimagine. That includes some untouchable greats that we'll get to on this list, but there's also some previous adapted novels that are primed for modern updates, many of which were in various stages of development before stalling during the pandemic. And some of these are on our big board of things, as a matter of fact. Because
I was gonna say the picture there. I can see the talisman. So
yeah, yeah, that's what Carol said in the chat. Come on, the talisman. So
did you make this picture, or is this from the article?
From the article.
Well, good on them having Wolves of the Call, the best book in the Dark Tower series, right there up front. I like that.
Let's see. It says, while some of the novels on the list have been optioned or even screenplays out there, until they're officially in production, they remain just possibilities. So without further ado, allow us to present 15 Stephen King stories that deserve to have their shelf lives extended on screen. Now, the challenge I have for everyone is I want everyone to give me a 1 to 10 for excitement level, saying, let's pretend that this article was announcing these are all coming, like, right pronto, basically.
Okay.
Let's say this isn't just speculation, but these are all really coming. Give me your excitement level, 0 to 10. 10 being hook it to my veins, 0 being nah.
Okay.
Because I originally even put meh, but I'm like, no, even meh it feels a little bit further up the list. Like nah would be like, nah, I'm not even interested, like, at all. So that I just want everyone to kind of react. I think it's kind of fun to have these lists, but also to have everyone have a chance to kind of
now clarification on one thing. Are we talking movie adaptations, or are we talking streaming or TV show?
I think he kind of lays it out.
Okay.
Kind of gives some choices.
Okay.
Depending on what
so
it
I'm
is.
going to say right now, if someone wants to make a Dark Tower standalone movie, and someone wants to make a Dark Tower HBO Max, Netflix, Amazon Prime series,
yeah,
I'm looking at you, Amazon. You still have a chance, you fuckers. Then that's a different conversation. That's a different excitement level.
Judgment Day is coming up for them here pretty soon.
Is it?
Their $1 billion investment in Lord of the Rings.
Oh, yeah, September 2nd.
Yeah, that starts in less than a week, so
yeah.
That's going to be interesting how that all plays out. I mean, I still don't think there's any objective/true gauge for how many people actually watch streaming things, so they can just lie and say it was great or whatever, but, because Netflix does that. You notice that every Netflix thing that ever comes out is always the highest viewed Netflix thing of all time, like every single one. Like, you feel like if they just picked their times to lie about that, it would be one thing, but to say it about every single fucking thing they put out,
all of them are the
kind
most
of
watched. None of them.
Well,
are.
I mean, theoretically, yeah, it could just be constantly growing or whatever. But it's like, let's be real, man. Like, what's come out since Stranger Things? There's been at least one thing, and I'm sure they said it was higher rated than Stranger Things.
Sandman.
Yeah, I don't buy it.
Which is a novel adaptation. Everyone's excited.
Yeah,
about it
certainly, but I just don't.
But
buy
Stranger Things, come on.
Yeah, no, I just don't buy it. So let's go ahead and get started. Then I also have something on the screen to kind of highlight it. So in case anyone joins us midway through, I don't have to stop and retell the challenge here. So again,
job.
0 to 10. Let's go ahead and jump in. Number 15, The Stand. And he says, listen, I know we just got a 9-episode adaptation that aired on Paramount in 2020, which had terrible timing of debuting amidst the pandemic. And I've got a deep affinity for Mick Garris's 1994 miniseries, but the dream of seeing King's sprawling apocalyptic tale of good and evil play out on a massive IMAX screen remains unfulfilled despite many attempts.
So we're talking movie
sounds
for
like
this one.
Sounds like he wants movie. And we'll go ahead and let him read
Let's get through the whole thing.
Because at first I was just like, because I have the Dark Tower thing in my mind where I'm like, I wanted to see Roland on the big screen, but long term now looking back, I would much prefer to have been a TV adaptation.
Right.
But there was still that element of like, no, I want to see the Gunslinger on the big screen.
Yeah.
I want to hear the Gunslinger Creed in a 7.1. Surround sound movie theater. So he goes on and says, David Yates, Ben Affleck, and Scott Cooper were all set to direct 2-part feature film adaptations over the previous decade, and each time it fell apart. There was difficulties cracking the story, and studios insisting that it had to be trimmed to one film, and concerns over the expense of shooting on location, and the list went on and on. And yes, we definitely saw that developmental hell for over a decade, I believe. He says, while it's undoubtedly will be a while before anyone attempts it again, some visionary filmmaker will inevitably come along and deliver an epic trilogy that will capture the transportive feeling of King's novel and can stand alongside Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings. And that's so that's kind of what what his thought is. So that's what we'll say it for with where your rankings at. A Lord of the Rings-ish trilogy that could potentially be 3-hour movies that would encapsulate
the same
the
director,
Stand.
all three made at the same time, all the way through, just like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
dude, give it to me. Hook it to my veins.
So 10 for you.
Hook
yeah,
it to my veins.
I don't even have to answer, do I?
Right there, just put it right there.
Do
it's your favorite non-dark? Yeah, absolutely.
Do I really have to answer? I mean, I think we all know. I may as well have 10 written on my forehead because I'm a huge fan.
That's and so far we've gotten 7s in the chat from Mike, Carol, and Josh says 8.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, if we're doing 3 movies, make it at the same time, so it's all cohesive. There's no. It's sad that I have to say this. There's no chance of someone getting into fucking trouble and getting arrested, or coming out that they're a piece of shit.
Sexual assault or all the other shit they
or just going crazy in Hawaii. Like all this. Literally, what just happened with one of the characters from the actors from The Stand.
And The Stand.
He's in The Stand. He's Trash Can Man. Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, I really kind of wish that people would just pull their heads out of their asses when it comes to that. It's like, you have it so good. Just stop.
Yeah.
But if it's all filmed together and it's all 3 at the same time, same director, same writers, and everything like they did with Lord of the Rings, hell yes.
Yeah.
Hell yes. I'll wait 10 years for you to go ahead and make that.
Yeah.
I'll do it.
And Josh says, how many books are in The Stand? I think there's 3, isn't there? Like it's something like the something opens, and then I think because
the cycle opens.
Yeah, and then there's the journeys, and then there's the Stand itself. So I think there's 3 books. So technically that would actually kind of fit. And yeah, Mike, you're right. One big book, Joshua. But he's talking in terms of like in the inside. It's kind of like the Dark Tower. We're in the middle of book 3 right now for the Wastelands, and the Wastelands is broken into 2 books. One is called Jake, and one is called Lud.
Yeah.
So it's kind of one of those inside the book books, quote unquote. So yeah, I believe there's 3.
I'm going to be listening. I'm pulling up my Kindle.
I'm going to throw everyone out. Throw it out to everyone real quick. Everyone that answered like 7 or 8. Do you guys feel that your grade is influenced by the fact of the last the Josh Boone adaptation? If we had no Stand since Mick Garris's in the 90s, do you guys think your guys' grades would change? I'm just curious because I mean,
3 books.
Not that 7 or 8 is a low number by any means. I'm just curious if potentially and Josh is 100%. Carol says yes. Robert says yes. Okay, so Josh Boone is maybe taking the luster off of it a tiny bit. Okay, that otherwise it would be a 10. Yeah, so that's what Josh says.
It is absolutely 3 books.
3 books.
So,
what were the
books.
titles? Did you?
It doesn't have the titles on the Kindle version. It just says book 1, book 2, book 3.
It does when you go to the actual cover page. No, you don't have to do that. I'm just.
I went
a big deal.
2 pages forward and back, and it didn't have anything. It's really stupid.
Or no, maybe they have subtitles. Maybe it's just book 1, and then like there's a subtitle.
It just has book 2, and it has,
and then it has like there's quotes too, or like song lyrics or whatever. So
On the Border, book 2 is On the Border.
Yeah, which is the traveling. Book 1 is The Circle Opens.
No, that's book 1. Book 1 is on the. Wait, I was just on book.
Book 1's The Circle Opens. Book 2 is On the Border, and book 3 is The Stand.
Book 1. Captain Trips is what it says book 1 is. Captain Trips, June 16th to July 4th.
Yeah, so it's Captain Trips, and the Circle Opens is the subtitle thing that it says before it says like the.
And then the third one is The Stand.
Yeah, The Stand is the third one, certainly. So, but yeah, that's I don't know, and it's very interesting that everyone is saying they would be much higher if it wasn't for the Boone series, which I agree. The Boone series, like I said, there's a couple things I like about it, but overall, Mick Garris's is better. So let's go on to number 14, and that is The Long Walk. And that Long Walk's 14. He says, here's another novel that the filmmaker has tried and failed to bring to the screen many times over the years. The Long Walk, which King wrote under the pen name Richard Bachman, would have been a perfect addition to the dystopian teen films of the 2010s. The tens, I guess is what he says. King even noted with admiration that Suzanne Collins' The Hunger Games series shared some similarities with the conceit, which features an annual walk contest that 100 adolescent boys compete for money and a prize of their choice in a nightmarish future America ruled by a dictator. He says the setup is deceptively simple, but the character moments, the bonds, and the feuds formed amidst the walkers, one in which any boy who stops his shot makes for one of King's most emotional narratives. And he says George Romero, Frank Darabont, and Andre Overdahl have all tried to get it made. The latter as recently as 2019. This one feels more like a question of when than if, which I agree. It's going to be coming, but I mean, I do have to cringe a little bit there. We lost out on a potential of George Romero and Frank Darabont doing The Long Walk.
Oh.
So, what do you think? He doesn't really spell out whether he would be a movie or a series, but I'm sure he's probably thinking movie. But just with what he kind of encapsulated there, what do you think? I guess I already gave my 10 for The Stand. Never mind, I did rank it. Let's see, anything we got in the chat, and then what about you? You got
Josh says NA, never read it or watched it. Mike says 9 can be done in one movie with 3 to 4 episodes of a limited series, and it would be cheap to make.
Yeah.
It's high on my want to read list, Josh says. Robert says 9, but yes, he adds keep it dark.
Yeah, and not light dark. We want the mist dark.
Not milk chocolate. We want dark.
No, but I'm just saying because there's this whole complaint now that because of digital cameras, like everything now is like shot dark to where it's like hard to see. Like we're not talking that. We're talking tonally here. We're talking
dark.
We're talking darkness of tone.
Carol says I'm lukewarm on watching children being murdered while trying to make money to support their families. So 5. And then Mike says with the popularity of Handmaid's Tale, The Long Walk seems like a gimme. Robert says sentient darling. Dark damn spell checker.
For me, I'm a weird one because I'm like on the line with this one. The novel didn't grab me as much as it does most people. Seems like this is one of King's more loved stories. For me, I felt like I was walking as much of a slog as it was for me. And it wasn't the book itself. I really genuinely believe I just was not in the mood for that kind of book when I was reading it. So I'm middle of the road. I'd probably say like a 6 because it is, and I think the difference between like a 5 versus a 6, like the reason I would go a little bit above that midway line is because it's never been done before, at least. And I think that's interesting.
I'd go the other way. I'd do a 4.
Yeah.
The reason why is because of all the things that King has on page that I haven't seen on the big screen or the streaming screen. I don't know why that, but on the of all the things that King has like that, this is one that. Do I want to see this? Do I want to see 13-year-old boys get shot in the head?
And I think it has to be boys and girls. I don't think you can keep it to just boys. I think we talked about that one.
I don't know if you can. Can you show teenage girls getting killed?
But I think we talked about that when the 2019 thing was, when it got announced / whatever, is like you've got to go co-ed on it. It can't just be boys. I don't think. I just think that it makes for I don't know. I think it makes for a more compelling thing if some of them are gender bended and you flip them. Like in my mind. But you're right. I mean, yeah, there certainly is. I mean, there's a couple of shows recently that ran into some issues. Robert,
you're not wrong, especially with success of Squid Games. Yeah, I know, but that's all adults. It's adults down on their luck and stuff like that.
What was it? There was Order 66, and what was the other one? Oh, it was Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Both of those things that had kids being massacred in the first episodes.
Good God.
Yeah, that wasn't. That people responded.
I got to steel myself when I go watch Schindler's List. I gotta be ready. I gotta have my comfort stuff for after. It's a 3.5 hour slog for it.
Yeah.
This would probably be like the I think it was Mike said, do it one movie. I could do it, 90 minutes, 2 hours.
Yeah.
And then it's done. But is there going to be, rewatch value there? Like the first time watching, there's people who don't know what happens, who wins and who dies and everything like that. But is this one of those ones that I'm going to come back to and be like, yeah, man, you know what? I'm feeling like I want to watch a movie. Let's throw let's throw the long walk on and see 17 people get shot in the head,
Yeah.
and they're kids.
Yeah.
Uh,
I could see that definitely. Yeah, for
and
sure.
the thing
for
is,
sure.
I enjoyed Squid Games. I did.
I haven't watched Squid Games actually.
You should watch Squid Games.
Yeah.
I think you would enjoy the hell out of it.
Yeah. No, I intend to at some point. It's one of those things that came at a time where I wasn't really open to new things. I was too overloaded with other shit I was watching, and it just now that I've gotten past it, I just need to circle back to it at some point, and I just haven't yet. So I need to, certainly. But I could see it though. Definitely, I think like the long walk. Even when we talked about it in 2019, I think there was a lot more excitement for it. But I just think that the way things are in the world, I don't think
it would be hard for me. I mean, it was bad enough watching Hunger Games. Like I loved the Hunger Games, and you know the basic premise of Hunger Games, right? Like it's like 26 kids get together, and the last one standing wins.
Yeah,
prestige and money and stuff like that, and they literally have to kill each other.
Yeah.
And when I watched it, when I read it, I was like, wow, this is a really compelling story. And then I read all 3 books and I watched the movies, and I'm just like, maybe I'm not that big of a sociopath that I thought I was. I don't enjoy watching children die, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just soft, you know? But I don't. And it's not like they drag them off the road and everything. No, they shoot them right there in the road in the head. Like they have snipers trained on them, like rolling with them in trucks and.
Yeah. It's very it is a dystopian story certainly, but it definitely may not feel as I don't know, it may feel too dystopian potentially. So okay, that's cool where everyone lands on that. Let's see, and then hello Spencer, welcome. Let's see, did I miss anything else in the chat? Okay, cool. Oh, I guess no. That's what I was going to say. Is the old YouTube host? We got to remember to say like the video if you're here watching with us. I just noticed the like thing there again. I'm still learning the whole YouTube thing. So number
currently sitting at 1 like.
Lucky number 13, everyone's favorite number here, because there is no 19, is the Dead Zone. So the Dead Zone, he says, I won't say that the Dead Zone necessarily needs a new adaptation. After all, the David Cronenberg directed, Christopher Walken starred film from 1983 is pretty marvelous. And there was a TV series that ran from 2002 to 2007 starring Anthony Michael Hall, which I admittedly haven't seen. I don't know if I've ever heard of such things.
Wait, what?
I didn't know there was a TV show. Or if I did know, I have forgotten that I knew because, that was a new one on me when I was doing the prep on this. So he says, yet the concept of a man granted the gift and curse of psychic abilities, along with the knowledge that an up-and-coming political candidate will destroy the world, feels like a project that could easily be effective as a means to terrify and provide social commentary. He says, as one of King's more popular works, the novel feels primed for a new take by a horror director just breaking through in the indie scene. A fresh read on the Dead Zone doesn't need to surpass Cronenberg's, merely see it through a different lens. For comparison's sake, consider it through the framework of Brian Fuller doing a new adaptation of Christine. It's not about going after John Carpenter's crown, but it's about watching a filmmaker with a distinct voice approach it from their angle, which is what I've been saying for at least a couple years now. Let's look at Stephen King like we look at Shakespeare. You're not going back and remaking a previous movie. You're going back to the book and readapting a book. It's not. Keep them separate from it. For me, this is like a hard 9 for me, man. I loved this book so much, and I would kill to see another version of it. Even though I do adore the first movie as well.
I need to watch the movie. I haven't watched the movie yet. And who was it that said it? Mike says the TV show was okay. Mike says 3 for the Dead Zone. 3 for Robert. For me, the original was awesome with Walken. Don't need to see Trump playing politician.
Very, very strange how that all worked out with because very kind of having this demagogue politician and stuff, and then the main character finding that he's going to cause a pretty terrible end of the world type thing. It does feel different maybe now than it did back when it was written in I don't remember when it was written, actually 1983 is when the movie was. Let me pull up the 79 1979.
I'd give this one a 7. I'm not opposed to it. I mean, but also I haven't seen the original, so I have no allegiance to it like you and some others do. So I'd be like, all right, let's do it, let's see it.
And then Carol says 6-ish. She says the original was so good. I would say 9. And for me, the 9 is mostly because it's probably one of the more recent. one of my more recent reads that wasn't a recent book that was an absolute page turner for me. Like I couldn't stop listening. The only thing that would stop me from saying it's the most recent one I've read that was a huge page turner was the last two, Billy Summers and Later, were just had me on the edge of my seat. So I do have to negate those out a little bit to say to give the Dead Zone the crown that it deserves. But but I could definitely see it. I don't think we really had necessarily. Well, we did have some lower ones for The Long Walk, but we haven't had any so far that were like one where it's just like, nah.
Is there? I mean, the only one you're going to get from me if it comes up is Tommy Knockers. But aside from that, I don't think anything lower than a 4 is possible.
Oh man. Okay, so let's go on to number 13 or number 12. I'm sorry, we're on number 13. Number 12 is Roadwork. And this one, it says, writing again is Richard Bachman. This is one of King's lesser-known novels, but one of my personal favorites. Roadwork is a raw, angry tome written by King in the aftermath of his mother's death. It follows a working-class Midwestern man driven to insanity and violence over the death of his son, failure of his marriage, and the loss of his home and job due to a construction of a new interstate. It's a tale not only about grief, but about how much a person can take when they feel like the world is paving them over. It's an adaptation that's right for an actor to make a meal of, show the steady descent into madness as a man takes a violent stand to hold on to what he has left. A film adaptation set to be produced by director Andy Muschietti and director Pablo Trapero was announced in 2019, but there's no word on the project since. You know, it's kind of interesting how many of them were announced in 2019, right before the pandemic, and now it's just like, what's left? Yeah, I think for me, this one would really depend on, because like for me, I would say like if this were, and I'm not saying it has to be him, but I think that it would be much more interesting if this were not a white guy. If this were if this were an Idris Elba or this were an Oscar Isaac or something, I think it'd be more interesting. But if it were just like, white guy,
Oscar Isaac,
yeah,
isn't that Poe Dameron?
Yeah.
Did I miss something?
What? He's Hispanic.
White. Is he really?
Yeah.
Oh. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. But yeah, I just think that like, I don't know, there's just something about like, I don't know. Because there is also the what's the one with Martin Sheen where he kind of loses his mind and then starts killing people.
Manchurian Candidate?
No. Let's see, movie. I'm trying to think. I'm blank on the name of it right now. But yeah, there's one where he kind of like whatever just starts shooting people. He has like an Uzi and stuff. But I just feel like that's kind of, I don't know. I feel like that's already been done. I think if you have someone that's kind of pushed to the edge, and it's like I said, like an Idris Elba, like if he's black or if he's Hispanic, and you add more of that to it, I think that it makes it a little bit more of our time, I suppose, and it may be more interesting to me. But if they were just going to like, and also if they were to do it like The Shining and just get someone that was fucking crazy, which I don't know, who's Willem Dafoe, maybe, someone that's just crazy from the word go, I would be not interested as much. So I guess for me, it's very variable on that. But assuming they go the right direction and make it actually a little bit more interesting and a little bit more like topical, I would probably say 7 for me. Again, it hasn't been done before, so that edges it a little bit up for me. I have a special place in my heart for just things we've never seen before when it comes to King, because there's some stuff I've read so far, and none of them that we've touched on yet. There's some I've read where I'm just like, how has this not been fucking done? And so everyone that, even if I haven't read them, I'm like, cool, if it hasn't been done, let's throw it out there. If nothing else, it'll probably inspire me to at least read the damn thing finally. So,
and I haven't read this one, so I mean,
Falling Down. Yes, thank you, Robert. That's the movie I was referring to with Martin Sheen.
Yeah, I wouldn't know what to rate this. So I'm just gonna kind of go like a middle, like 5. Like I not nah.
Yeah.
Like if you had left meh, that's probably where I'd be at. But if we're leaning more towards like, no, I don't want this to be made as a 1, then I'd probably put this at a 5. Above Long Walk, like if someone came to me and said, hey, would you rather have Roadwork, you've never read it, or The Long Walk made into a film, which would you prefer? I'd probably go with Long Walk.
Yeah.
I think it would be a little bit. It also sounds like a better premise for a movie too. Like, like Society's Got Me Down. You could even do like a period piece with it too. You don't have to do a modern one.
No, certainly, yeah.
You could do a period piece, make this back in the 70s or 80s.
Yeah.
Have it during the the really bad recession and stuff like that. Hell, go back just to 2008 here in America and everything like that. Let's just do there.
Yeah. Let's see anything. Let's see what did everyone say in the chat here?
Don't have any for it.
No, yeah, Mike has 3 for road work. I love the quote at the bottom of the book.
Oh, there it is.
Let's see. Then Martin Sheen falling down, got a couple people. Thank you, Mike mentioned as well. I saw Robert at the bottom of the chat there, but that's the one that I was forgetting the name of. I just watched a scene for that recently on YouTube. First time I've seen anything of it for a while, and so it's a little bit fresher in my mind than it normally would be. But yeah, I don't know. I haven't read this one.
Yeah,
but
Carol just says to make them all.
I mean, yeah. Although, we'll hold your tongue on that one though, because there may be some on here that some people might object to. I'm trying to remember. I think. Actually, wait. Never mind. Maybe I'm. Yeah, never mind. I'm crazy. There's another article that we're covering that.
Oh, okay.
That's crossed my wires a little bit.
Cross-pollinated there a little bit.
Yeah, but it is an argument on a new adaptation of something that I think people might object to. But it's not in this article. So next up, let's go to number 11, which is The Running Man. It says another Bachman book, and he says the last one on the list to close out King's early years. Now, one could argue that The Running Man has previously been adapted, courtesy of the 1987 film starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. As I can understand why the film. Let's see, and I can understand why that film has its fans, despite or perhaps because of its schlocky spandex action and bad puns. But it's a far cry from the novel, which still has Ben Richards caught in a dystopian game show, but one that isn't limited to the arena. Richards is allowed to go anywhere he pleases after a 12-hour head start, but not merely hunters who are sent to capture him, but ordinary citizens who are also seeking prize money. King's novel is gritty, bleak, looking at capitalism and the subjugation of the poor. Richards isn't a muscle-bound action hero, but a underfed, impoverished everyman who can't afford medicine for his sick daughter and whose wife is resorting to prostitution to pay the bills. As of 2001, Edgar Wright is attached to direct for Paramount. Fingers crossed that it actually happens, given the filmmakers running list of potential projects, which he's a pretty hot property, obviously.
So I have a correction. I misspoke with what Carol was saying. She was saying that all of these projects, she's assuming that they're going to be made with top-notch directors, cast, and everything like that.
Yeah,
that's what she was saying for all of them, not make all of them. My apologies, Carol. That was me only reading one message and not reading her previous messages before that. So, Running Man. I mean, I've never read it, and I've seen the Schwarzenegger movie way too much. In fact, I just rewatched it here just a couple months ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It happened to come across on one of the streaming, like, hey, we think you might like this, and I'm like, well, you're probably right.
Yeah.
Look at this. I'm going to watch it right now. One of those rare instances where I had the house to myself for 5 hours, and I'm like,
yeah.
Well, let's turn on something that the wife and the kid don't want to watch. And so I turned on a Stephen King adaptation.
Yeah.
And, so for me, hearing that the book is vastly different, because that's what came out of me watching as we talked about it. I hear that the book is, like, way different. Even the description you just read is way different than the movie.
Yeah.
I'm for it. Give it to me 7.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go like an 8, a pretty good 8 for me. What I love too is when it says that he's an underfed, impoverished everyman who can't or whatever. So honestly, doesn't that just scream Edgar Wright to you? Like, think of the characters in his movies. Like, that really feels like he's the perfect filmmaker for it. But yeah, I think that for me, this is like an 8.
Mike says 2 for The Running Man. We don't need any more reality TV. That's pretty good. I like that. Robert says 7. Really liked the book. Liked movies too, but a way different adaptation.
Yeah.
And she, Carol says, sorry, Peter, but Mike deserves emojis.
Robert deserves emojis.
I think she meant Mike.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I welcome emojis. Anyone wants to throw emojis out there?
Carol, I appreciate you, not the overuse of emojis. So.
I think emojis should be all over the place.
What are you going to do? Ask him just to put all emojis so that my chat fills with just emojis?
You should just be lucky that I'm in this seat and you're in that seat. Because imagine me with more freedom. You
can't
and not,
do an emoji?
I mean, I can, but I'm doing, the reading the articles. Imagine if I were the one on the co-pilot seat. Imagine how much emojis would be flooding the screen and all the shenanigans that would abound.
Joseph chimes in and says 8. Love the movie. Book was good. Haven't read it in a while. Can probably quote the whole movie.
I haven't seen the movie since I was a kid. I remember that was actually one that we never owned. I always remember renting it from like Hollywood Video and stuff. But I've certainly, dude, as a kid, like Schwarzenegger was my my guy, man. Like,
Yeah.
like honestly, like even like a lot of the other guys, like I know you're different, but like me, I didn't watch Die Hard and Lethal Weapon and shit until I was older. Because for me, it was Schwarzenegger. Like if you're
Yeah.
talking action, like I don't even know if there was much else I was watching outside of Schwarzenegger. And honestly, he did enough that it was like enough to fill your. I mean, I did some like there was some like Aliens and stuff that didn't have him, but for the most part, yeah, action, Tad, Little, Schwarzenegger was the guy. So.
Robert throws 3 emojis in there and says, "Got you, Tad." And then
There you
Mike
go.
says, "Jesse the Body Ventura was clutching that movie, LOL."
Oh, yeah, I mean, when is he not?
It's Jesse the Body Ventura. I mean,
I ain't got time to bleed.
you're bleeding.
All right, so number 10 now. Now we're moving into the top 10. So
Top
this
10.
this should be the cream of the
So
crop,
this
right?
is his ranking, right? Like
Yeah.
15 through 1.
I,
Okay.
Just I don't know whether he's ranking them, but this is how he's unveiling them.
Okay.
It does feel well. I don't know. I don't know if he's actually ranking them. He didn't really say that. I guess he just numbered them, and I put them this way.
If you
so.
number them, I mean,
Yeah, if you number them in my mind, that says you're ranking them. So, but I could be presuming that a little bit. But number 10, the Talisman.
well, I mean,
Yeah, I mean we've talked
do you
about this a
even need
bit.
to read it. I mean, like we know what's coming in the chat. We know what's coming from you. We know what's coming from me.
But let's just give him he says King's collaboration with horror contemporary Peter Straub has long been one of the fans' most requested adaptations. The Talisman and its sequel, The Black House, are supposed to be part of a trilogy, one that remains unfinished, and yet each entry tells a complete
Wait,
story. Yeah, it was always supposed to be a trilogy.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Okay, I have a new wish.
In the last couple of years, Straub has said he doesn't know if it'll happen. The third one will ever happen.
Forget all adaptations. Give me that third book. forget that.
And he says the talisman follows a 12-year-old Jack Sawyer who, in an attempt to save his dying mother, uses a crystal talisman to travel to an alternate dimension, which isn't necessarily right. He's going to find the talisman.
Yeah.
A twisted fantasy version of the United States populated by twinners, parallel individuals that are unique, that share unique connections with the dimension opposite. It's a high-concept story that blends fantasy, horror, and the coming of age, while also sharing some key connective tissue to King's Dark Tower series. The Duffer Brothers are set to develop it as a series of Netflix following the conclusion of Stranger Things. Given the current popularity of multiverse, general audiences might have a much easier time following the Talisman's concepts now than they would have a decade or two ago, which is actually a
That's a
very
true
good
thing.
point. Yeah, between the stuff Marvel's doing and between the stuff even the Duffer Brothers. I mean, the whole upside down thing. Is not the upside down in Stranger Things a perfect analogy for the territories? It's not exact, but it gives people the idea. Cool, there's two realities and stuff. So yeah, I think people are going to be a lot easier to come across and understand the Talisman now than they would have been. So what tens do we have in the chat here?
Joseph, Robert, Spencer, Carol, Mike,
You, I'm sure.
me,
Yeah,
you.
it's a 10. It's
It's a 10.
It's a 10.
On to the next. We know what this one is. This is a 10.
Yeah, I think, and ultimately, yeah, hopefully this one seems the most alive of a lot of these. There's a lot of these that we heard announcements back in like 2018, 2019, and haven't heard shit since. We just heard a little bit of updates during the publicity for the newest season of Stranger Things, as well as they're reading the Talisman in the final episode of Stranger Things. One character's in the hospital, another character's sitting over the bed reading the Talisman, which was interesting to hear the text of the Talisman on screen. I love
Here
it.
you go, guys. I'm gonna break the mold a little bit. I'm gonna put emojis in the chat. Hook it to my veins. Hook it to my veins. I want it in there right now.
Now, is that about the Talisman or Eddie Dean?
Whoa, come on. Hashtag Tad is terrible. How dare you, sir? He is clean. And he died a hero.
Oh, he died a hero. That's great. Oh man.
You're a monster.
Oh, all right. So yes, Talisman 10s across the board. I can't say I didn't suspect as much, but that's the reason I'm kind of doubting whether he's actually ranking them, because I don't know how you don't put the Talisman very high on the list. So I really don't know if he's ranking, but either way. Next one.
Robert says Peter is one of us. One of us. No. Just for Talisman. Calm down.
Yep. Go ahead and just get that emoji. Those emoji fingers going, Peter.
Nope.
All right, so next up, number 9. And this one's fresh in your mind, The Dark Half.
just finished reading it. Oh yeah, we need to mark that off on the list. So
yeah, so did I. I just read it recently. He says maybe it's because there's been a lack of horror films with writers as the lead characters of late, or maybe it's just because James Wan's *Malignant* made parasitic twin Gabriel a breakout cult icon among horror fans. Either way, the Sparrows deserve to fly again, and The Dark Half needs a new adaptation that can really dial up the horror elements and provide some lead actors with the chance to build two distinct characters. Just as a quick aside, just knee-jerk reaction. Who would you want to see play two characters here? No, and I'm not saying
you want them to play. It has to be two different people.
No,
they look nothing alike.
The original movie did it with one actor. Then
did they really?
Yeah. Dressed him up different, he has a whole different. It's kind of like the Clark Kent and Superman thing, and so that's what just makes me think: what actor is out there? And like, I'm not even saying you have to like pick a guy that's exactly Thad Beaumont, but I'm just saying like, who's an actor where you're just like, that guy's so talented, I would love to see him play two different guys.
Mike says Ryan Reynolds.
Like Oscar Isaac just did it with Moon Knight, right? He was playing multiple characters, so
Oscar Isaac.
Like he comes to mind a little bit for me. But there's a number. I mean, Gary Oldman. But.
No, Gary Oldman should be Pangborn.
I don't know, man.
He's a little bit older.
Yeah,
Pangborn.
but we could age up. We could age up anyone for Gary Oldman, or Gary Oldman just ages himself down. I mean, he could probably do Harry Potter if they rebooted it tomorrow.
He could be Harry Potter.
He could be Harry Potter, yeah, and he would do amazingly.
Get out of here.
Let's see. And it says the 1993 film starring Timothy Hutton isn't George Romero's best work, and it's one of the few studio films he ever did, in part because of financial challenges he encountered during the project. The adaptation, while it does feel like the 90s television movie, does a decent job of exploring the duality of man, with author Thad Beaumont attempting to bury his pen name George Stark, only to find an alter persona manifest in a physical world and wreaking havoc on his life. If done well, a new adaptation could be one of the all-time great cinematic stories about the process of telling stories. And if a studio can manage to obtain the rights to both, The Dark Half would be a great lead into the next story on this list. So, the one thing I will mention, we talked about it last night or yesterday when we were watching Creep Show, was no matter how good or bad a George Romero movie is, the special effects are always incredible. And I will say the absolute best part of The Dark Half, the original adaptation, was the special effects.
Was it?
Oh my God, man. Like, it was just... Yeah, I don't know if he had Tom Savini on it or not, but I know Creepshow he had Tom Savini, which obviously that's like a force multiplier. You get George Romero, but then if you add Tom Savini, it's just like quadruples, it
just goes up even
more. Exponential growth of your special effects. But that is probably one of the best things. But overall, there's a lot of stuff about it that's forgettable. So for me, this is a high one. This is probably like an 8.
What I would really like to see. I mean, I'm going to give it a 5. I'm middle of the road with this one. I've never seen. No, you know what? I'll give it a 6. I'll bump it up to a 6 because it was a good story. It's a great story, compelling story with like the hey, we got you cold, and he's like, you don't.
Yeah,
like
kind of felt like The Outsider. Yeah, exactly. It felt a lot like The Outsider. I know this is written first, but for me that read it second,
exactly,
it reminded me of The Outsider quite a bit.
I think that it would be pretty fascinating, especially with them being with him. Like, okay, he's obviously in Maine. And then there's murders happening in D.C. and in New York. Like, it's pretty clear it's not this dude that's here in Maine the entire time. Like, we're watching him. Like, it's not him.
Yeah.
But what I would like to see if they did it, and this would bump it up from a 6 to I'd bump it up to an 8 or a 9, is if they got two actors who look alike. You know, like you get confusing, dude
like Keira Knightley and Natalie Portman.
There you go. No, dude, you want to make this great, dude. Get the Franco brothers. Get the two damn Franco brothers to play. One to play George, one to play Thad.
I don't like.
Yeah,
I don't like him, man.
Yeah.
I've never liked him. I was able to tolerate him for 11/22/63, but that's as far as I go.
Stephen King alum. Have him come in and have his brother play the.
And he's kind of a shitty person.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, there's some stuff with him. And then the answer, Spencer says, is a newer book. No, this one came out in 89. The Dark Half did, 1989. It is one of his maybe a little bit lesser known books. It came right after Peter's favorite Tommyknockers. But yeah, this is kind of where you started to see King shift a little bit into kind of what you'd see in the 90s. But it's definitely, I thought it was a great book. I love the book. The adaptation was a very middle of the road. That's why for me, I'm going to go a little bit higher and say like an 8 for me on a new adaptation of this, because I do think this would be an interesting one to see. And I think there's a lot of actors nowadays, guys like Joaquin Phoenix and stuff, that like if you put the right actor in this, like oh my god, man,
They
like,
get 2 chances to shine.
yeah, like they can do 2 things, and it'd be great. Plus, you'd have a great casting job for like an Alan Pangborn. There'd be
Yeah.
some fun stuff you could do there as well.
You have the wife. You have
Yeah, there's a lot of good characters, and then it's
all the victims too.
It's kind of Castle Rock. I don't want to say it's a Castle Rock novel because it's not entirely in Castle Rock, but there's elements of it in Castle Rock. So it's one of the handful of Castle Rock books in King's entire thing there. So let's go ahead and or did you give a ranking on it?
6 if they got like brother actors. Oh, there we go. The Hemsworth brothers. Liam and Chris Hemsworth. There we go.
Oh man.
No, I'm serious. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want the same guy playing the same character because I just finished it like 3 days ago. They are so physically different.
No, it's true because ultimately, Stark is
Huge.
It comes to what Thad envisioned when he created him is what he ends up being. So I will say in the Romero movie that was a little bit of a that they use the same actor because again I was like, yeah, you go someone different because it's not about like, oh, you know, Roland kind of looks like Stephen King because
Right.
Roland is kind of he's bred out of Stephen King a little bit.
Right.
Like
or
King,
Eddie and Cuthbert look kind of alike because they're twinners, you know, that kind of thing.
But it's not like that. Like this is literally like he creates a pen name, envisions what this guy is like in his mind, and that's what becomes embodied when he comes alive.
Exactly.
Is what he's envisioning. So, I mean, you could even go kind of crazy and make it like some like scrawny-ish Edward Norton type, and then have Chris Hemsworth as the.
That's exactly.
You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, because he's huge.
Because they don't. So what you're saying with brothers is wrong. They shouldn't even look alike.
No, they.
You know?
Well, no, but that's the thing is like when George is starting to, spoilers for the Dark Half, when George is starting to have issues with his appearance, he starts to look a little bit more like Thad, because he's melting back to his base model, which is Thad,
Yeah.
because he came from Thad.
Yeah.
But when
you,
he's
you
not,
you can always kind of just trim that out, just so you have like
I mean,
the
makeup's fucking insane these days.
And the way George Romero did it, it wasn't that he was merging back to the other guy; it was that he was just kind of decaying,
Yeah.
and that, which George Romero, I mean, yeah,
Right.
Okay, cool. So, everyone else chime in terms of. Now, I will say, yeah, Free Guy. When we're talking about Ryan Reynolds, yeah, that was a fun movie.
Oh, did you watch that?
Yeah, I went and saw it
Okay.
in theaters. It was fun. Wait, that's the video game one, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I'm a gamer. I've grown up on video games since I was a wee lad, so stuff like that's always going to tickle my fancy. So yeah, I went and saw
Yeah.
it, and I enjoyed it. So, yeah, have you not seen it?
No, I watched it.
Okay. As I said,
It has Ryan Reynolds. Of course I've watched it. There's not many movies that come out with Ryan Reynolds that I'm not watching because of the wife. Like, she loves Ryan Reynolds. So.
yeah. Okay, so then he kind of alluded to it. He says if the studio can get it, they can tie it into the next one, which the next one, of course, is Needful Things, which
Yep.
I also just read for me for the first time. Number
You
8,
just
Needful
finished it,
Things.
right?
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
So he says one of Dark Half's supporting characters is Alan Pangborn, becomes more central in Needful Things, which sees the arrival of a mysterious shopkeeper, Leland Gaunt, in Castle Rock, which I remember we actually talked in the last year or so. There was a fan theory about Leland Gaunt, and I didn't think about it till the very end of the book because I think the fan theory was that Leland Gaunt was Randall Flagg. And I don't see. I mean, he does bring a lot of happiness to the town, so I could see where it comes in that
You
he's Randall
stop
Flagg.
it.
There's a lot of people very, very happy because Leland came to town. So it says Gaunt's collection of curiosities has seemingly everything that the denizens of, which I love that word, denizens of Castle Rock need, but each item carries an expensive price. Small pranks that steadily escalate until the whole town is at each other's throats.
Yeah.
The novel was previously adapted in 1993 and starred Max von Sydow as Gaunt, which is I still need to watch it. And of course, Ed Harris is Alan Pangborn. Although the lead performances are strong, this adaptation leaves much to be desired and doesn't succeed at the dark humor or the horror of human nature. Given the contemporary division lines that exist in America, a new adaptation of Needful Things is primed to provide a biting social commentary. So, I'm again. I feel like I'm rating all these really high, but these are all really good picks for me, man.
They're
they're
also pretty good novels.
Yeah,
let's be honest.
I think I'll go like a 7 on this one because I just finished it. Like literally,
Yeah.
I'm diving into Dr. Sleep for Patreon, and right before that was Needful Things for me, and I enjoyed it, but I really think Needful Things needs to be a miniseries.
Think so?
I just think with the breadth of what's going on,
You want a cliffhanger there. You want it to be a weekly one.
well, I just think that how are you going to cram that into a? Because
No.
again, if you're talking also if it falls into the horror realm, which I don't know if it's a full-on horror movie, but if the studio see it that way, they're going to be like, cool, we want 90 minutes. And do you think you could do this story in 90 minutes? So
not well.
not well, exactly. So give me, and it doesn't have to be like I'm not talking 10 episodes.
Give me a Mike Flanagan 7-part series.
You don't even need that. I'd say 5, like around the Chernobyl period. I think that'd be perfect for what you've got in that story, and that also maybe give you a little bit of room to stretch like Taffy the characters a little bit, flesh them out a little bit, make sure the audiences are familiar with everyone as things progress. So hashtag Tad is accurate. That should be our next T-shirt there.
No. Carol says 10. Mike says 8 for Needful Things. Spencer says, Peter, that's the only reason I got my wife to watch The Free Guy with me. Yeah, Ryan Reynolds gets the ladies in the seats. It's perfectly acceptable to admit.
Yeah.
And
then
Joseph says he agrees with the miniseries.
Where do you fall on Needful Things?
If it's a miniseries, I'd give it a 7. If it's a movie, I'd give it a 4.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If they were just making it into a movie,
if they're making it into a movie, I'm just like,
I'd actually shift that all the way down to like probably a 2 or a 3 if it was a film. This has to be
no thanks.
This has to be more than that. But yeah, and actually, my original gut feeling was 8, but I'm felt self-conscious because the last couple have been 8. But now to hell with that. I'm going 8 again. So 8 for Needful Things, which is number 8 as a matter of fact, because it really is. It's such a good story. And
Carol agrees, miniseries for sure.
As brilliant as Max von Sydow is always, and Ed Harris, probably his most iconic Stephen King role. There's just not as I think I've seen this when I was younger, but I do want to watch it again. But yeah, I don't know. I would love to see that. And like nowadays, I don't know, like a Gary Oldman could be a good Leland Gaunt.
I think that
kind of give him that Dracula where he's kind of like,
why does he always have to be a bad guy with you? Make him Pangborn. Have him Pangborn in the Dark Half and have him Pangborn in Needful Things.
You know why? Because like Book of Eli, you know why Book of Eli was so great? Because it was finally Gary Oldman returning to doing what he does best, being a villain. Because he does villainry better than anyone potentially in freaking film history, man. Nobody does a bad guy like he does. Find me anyone in film history that lines up to Stansfield in terms of just a fictional villain. Dude, he is absolutely despicable. Just one of the worst human beings from The Professional.
I know. I'm just thinking.
He's horrible.
We're talking about horrible, despicable people. I mean, the camp commandant in Schindler's List.
You can't count real stuff.
Oh,
that's
he's pretty vile. I mean,
and then also he does great with Dracula and where does Mason Verger fall? Is he a villain?
Yes.
Why? He's trying to kill a killer. Isn't that the whole Dexter thing?
He's feeding people to hogs. If you feed human beings to animals, you can't say you're a good person, Tad. Do you have a pit somewhere with animals inside it? Oh my God, that's terrifying.
Does the hog thing, does that turn into a beast because they will consume people?
I mean, yeah, they're pretty terrifying.
And they can be aggressive too. But yeah, so Needful Things, that's high up there for me. I just finished it. I'm getting ready to throw the movie on. Probably next weekend would be my guess. I'm gonna throw it on and watch it.
Got a long weekend next weekend.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to watching it. But yeah, I do think a new version would be great. So next up, number 7. Anything else I missed in the chat?
Hashtag Chicks Dig Ryan Reynolds.
I briefly glanced down and saw Chicks Dig and saw R, and I thought I was going to say Randall Flagg. No. I'm a little disappointed that.
No, they don't.
Of course they do.
No.
Number 7, Insomnia.
Only fat preachers do.
Number 7, Insomnia. It says in 1994, King returned to another one of his most famous townships, Derry, Maine. Only this time it wasn't a clown causing sleepless nights, but insomnia. Ralph Roberts' condition allows him to see life force auras that are governed by entities, the purpose and the random, which create order in the universe. A third entity, the Crimson King, seeks to sow chaos in the universe. As Ralph gains access to these forces of reality and the secret nature of all things connected by the Dark Tower, he is drawn into conflict with a former friend, Ed Deepno, who is being manipulated by the Crimson King and whose anti-abortion stances set the course for an act of domestic terrorism that will unbalance the forces of the universe. Obviously, Insomnia is grappling with a lot, and it's one of King's weirder novels. There's also the fact that it doesn't stand alone like other novels on this list, being tied to King's magnum opus, The Dark Tower. Yet, despite these complexities, there is something alluring about the story story as King trades small town people for cosmic forces, musings on the larger effects of death in the multiverse. He says it'll be tough to adapt, but one that just maybe if we can get a new adaptation of the Dark Tower going, Insomnia will follow. And that's the thing is, for me, really the crucial thing for this is do not fucking Hearts and Atlantis me and completely neuter it of Dark Tower references. If they do that, I'll put a 1 on this one. But if they're going to fully embrace it, and it didn't ruin Hearts and Atlantis for me. Hearts and Atlantis was still a great movie, but it probably would have been like a 9 or a 10. It would have been really high, but the scrubbing the Dark Tower stuff brings it down to like a 7 for me. It just because it just feels less interesting too. So I think for this though, if they're going to embrace the story as it is in the book, I'll go like probably a 7 on this one.
I 5. I'm indifferent.
Yeah,
I have a bad taste in my mouth because of the audiobook.
You can't let the music.
Dude,
you can't let the music ruin it for you, sir.
Bad. It's so bad. It's like the worst rated Stephen King audiobook out there because of that. It's so bad.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's bad, but you can't let that affect the story.
The story. That's the thing is I don't remember the story because I've only read it once. And I can't.
You got.
Well, I missed half the story over the damn music. I mean,
you got to Kindle that shit.
Apparently, I do. I might, go a little bit higher if I actually reread it without doing the audiobook and everything. But,
oh, and then Mike also mentions Nadine does when we're talking about ladies that love Flag. So just gotta.
Yeah, and then she convinced him to murder her. I mean, you're not helping your case there with that one.
Let's see, and then Carol says done right. Insomnia is a 10. 5 says Mike says 5 for Insomnia. There is other books in Stephen King's works I really want more.
Yeah.
Spencer says I need to read this one again. It's been years. I'll go with a 9. Carol says the Dark Tower tie-ins are so good and important. And yeah, I think that's it for me. Like I said, that's where the whole thing hedges. Because yeah, if you're gonna just scrub it at Dark Tower, I'm going down to a 1 and saying no. Just don't even fucking do it.
Robert says 5 for me. You know they won't do it right. And that's the thing for me is I don't have faith in this. I'm the exact same way, Robert. You nailed it. I don't have faith that they're gonna make a good thriller out of this. It's what it would be. It should be a thriller. They're going to turn it into a horror movie, and it's going to be terrible because it's not really a horror movie. Or they're going to turn it into an action movie, and it's not an action movie. It's just like if they took Silence of the Lambs and they put in 7 more gunfights. You know, like that's not the tone of it. And so, yeah, and
I think Carol's right though. Only basing the score on top notch and not disappointments, because that's the other thing. We already kind of said up front. We're not trying to assume that it's going to be bad. We're assuming that this would work out. Like for the most, like in terms of like, I think what I'm trying to get to with the ratings is kind of like with what it is it something you'd want to see? And so I think the whole level of getting into like would they do it right or not, I think we got to leave that off the table because, yeah, I don't know. There's always going to be the potential of screwing things up. I mean, people have screwed up some pretty unscrew-upable ideas.
Firestarter. How the fuck do you screw up Firestarter?
Yeah, but let's try to leave that off there. Let's just look at it from the perspective of the actual stories and what would our excitement level would be of getting it. And for me, actually, I may even go higher on this than 7 because, again, that's only if they're going to do the Dark Tower stuff. Because if they do it, like this would be our most direct Dark Tower like thing that's like fully embracing it, right? We've seen some small little Easter eggs in Doctor Sleep and stuff here and there, but like this would be like, oh, the Crimson King, oh, there's the Dark Tower, and like just I feel like this would be like, oh my god, this is like as next door to the Dark Tower as you're going to get without getting a whole new Dark Tower thing. So
Carol says, and there goes Peter. I'm sorry, guys, I don't want to keep beating a dead horse. It just pisses me off so bad because I love that book so much. So much. So good until.
So just try to readjust yourself a little bit to not assume the like whatever, because I think that's a whole different conversation of like, you know, whatever. Let's assume all of these have the perfect guy attached. Like this is like Mike Flanagan, you know, like because then you're not going to have the same doubts. If it's Mike Flanagan, the man walks on water for God's sake.
I mean, I'd still leave it as a 5.
And that's fine. I just don't want it to be your grade to be completely dictated by.
It's not solely dictated by the story in Insomnia. For me, just putting the music aside, like I joke about that and everything like that, but all seriousness and everything, the story didn't captivate me that much. I mean, there was that moment where I was like, oh, that's Patrick.
Yeah.
That's the kid. That's the artist. Oh my God. That,
Yeah.
like that moment. But like
Yeah.
you said, if they leave that out, fuck it.
No, yeah, and that's again, if they're gonna, because it's not even just that. It's not just Patrick. It's the Crimson King. There's the Dark Tower. There's a lot of shit going on
If
with
it's
this.
just
That's like,
if it's just some evil force, Satan.
in fact, I don't think you can actually carve Dark Tower out of this like you could with Hearts in Atlantis.
Yeah.
Hearts in Atlantis, there's like some cool connections, but it's like superficial enough that like the plastic surgery to carve it out doesn't mar it. But this one, you'd completely it would look like the Joker in the first Batman movie, like after the surgery, with the taking the bandage. That's what it would look like it would just be horrible. But I just don't. So I don't think you could do that. So yeah, I'm going to assume they're going to they'd keep that in there, and I'll give it the 7. It goes down to a 1 though if they're going to try to freaking carve out Dark Tower shit.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of wondering if we've turned a corner on that, man. With all the references we've been seeing in other King works to Dark Tower stuff, it makes me think if they made Hearts and Lands today, I do not think that they would actually carve that stuff out. I do think it would be low men. I do think that they'd have yellow coats. I think all the stuff would fully connect to it and stuff. I just think it was a different time in 2000. I mean, they didn't, or 2001. They hadn't even finished the fucking series, for God's sake. So I can see where maybe they leaned away from Dark Tower then, where I don't think they would now. So, but next up, Under the Dome.
Oh.
And he says, what happens when a small town America, already rife with grievances, is trapped in a glass cage? Well, given that this is King, nothing good, which is true. You may remember, what if King just wrote a book one time and everything went swimmingly? Like there were like, relationships and stuff to keep it like interesting and like you engage, but nothing horrible happened. Like, wouldn't we all just be like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
Nothing bad happened here. King, this isn't King.
Yeah.
Somebody else wrote this.
It's like, why am I reading a story about someone's everyday life? No one cares about this shit.
No, but I'm saying, what if he still tried to keep it interesting with like relationships and like whatever, but it just no like that horrible King left turn never happened. Like it would just be like, what the hell?
Then there are other worlds than these.
Yeah, it's like okay, King has been snatched by a body snatcher. He says, you may remember that this sprawling tome of a novel was made into a CBS miniseries or CBS series in 2013, and it ran for 3 seasons. The show is very much a result of the post-lost search to find the next mystery box television series. He says, while the ending may have left some readers wanting, there's no denying that King's excels at creating a sprawling cast of characters who reflects America as a microcosm. The underlying message of climate change and the ways in which the rich and powerful exploit a shared space for their own benefit is sadly just as relevant now as it was in 2009. I think, again, if we're assuming that they're going to go kind of the right route this time, this would be up there, because this one was a page turner for me, dude. What was this? Almost 1,000-page book.
It was the.
I think it's
the 4th longest Stephen King book.
Dude, I think I read it in like.
Or 3rd.
I think I read it in like 9 days, something like that.
I'm going to take back my joke that I just made about the ending. They were talking about King's book.
The book
not
ending.
the miniseries. The miniseries went off the rails in the 2nd season. Like,
I didn't even get that far.
no, middle of the first season.
I think I got to the end of the first season.
Middle of the first season, I'm just like, what the fuck? I'm not watching this anymore. I text you and you're like, I'm not watching this anymore. But I'm going to drop a bombshell on you, Tad.
Yeah.
Hook it to my veins.
Yeah.
You want to know why? Hook it to my veins. Give me a 10. Give me someone that's actually competent and can fix King's ending.
Yeah.
The ending, we've seen it before. The Mist,
Did the emojis again.
That's what I'm going to do when it's hooked to my veins. I mean.
No, and that's kind of what I was kind of giving the preamble for.
Yeah.
Is that like, for me, I read this book in like 8 or 9 days, dude.
It's
For a book this long, that is an accomplishment, man. I don't think I've ever read.
You got everything in this book.
Yeah, I think
There's no escape. You got the trap feeling and everything like that. You got the drama of the one guy being a sociopath and a murderer.
What is it, Big Jim?
Big Jim's son.
Yeah.
And then Big Jim's controlling the town, and you got the good guy Barbie and everything like that.
Yeah.
That tells you how much I actually enjoyed it.
Loved it, man. Like
I need. You know what? Screw that. I need to read this again. When I finish the book I'm reading right now, I'm listening to
Under the Dome. Yeah. So I think I'm going to go with. I'm going to go 9 on this one. This one's pretty high for me. Like this, because it was. This book was great, and I do think the series kind of definitely fumbled it. And I would love to see another hack at it. So
yeah.
Oh, and hello,
absolutely.
Alan. Welcome, Alan.
And Jack just joined as well.
Oh, awesome. Good to see you, Jack. Yeah, so let's see. What else do we got? We got 7 from Robert. Carol says, wow, to you, Peter. And then Josh, welcome back. Josh says he never finished the book. I think that Yeah, Carol's
No.
it didn't work for Carol with the ending.
No, that was a question.
Oh,
Didn't do it for you.
okay. Asking my.
It didn't do it for you, Ted?
I liked it. I was fine with it.
I didn't have a problem with it, but I was like,
What else is it going to be, for God's sake? Let's be honest.
honestly, you know what I would have preferred? You know what I would do if I was the showrunner? Dude, you never know. You never find out. Dude, leave it ambiguous. I would fucking love that. That's one of those ones that you do that for.
I feel like this one's kind of like Revival. And I haven't even read Revival, but Revival kind of has like that, I don't know, that kind of Lovecraftian ending. And I feel like this kind of is the same way. I just don't think people took to it as well as maybe they did other things.
You know what I just realized this is, Ted?
What?
This is the second start of the Golden Age of King. This is where it started. Was Under the Dome.
Let's see where
it was like, what, 2010? 2009? Somewhere around there?
Under the Dome, 2009.
Yeah, that's right when the Golden Age of King started again.
We currently, we just did arbitrary lines on our list. Our list is a couple books after that. We have 11/22/63 being the kickoff.
I think we're wrong. I think it's Under the Dome, dude. Dude, Under the Dome is what made me read 11/22/63.
Yeah.
We both read this. I went out and bought a copy off of your recommendation. I have a hardcover of this because they hadn't even released the paperback
Well, that's
yet.
good. You have a weapon then.
I could kill 50 men.
Yeah, if you just wrap that in a pillowcase and start swinging it.
Yeah. In a zombie apocalypse, I just put it on the end of a stick.
No kidding. So yeah, I'd go high ranking on this one, man, because Under the Dome, I really loved it. Some people bitch about the ending, which I'm fine. That's everyone has different opinions. But the ending it was fine for me.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed kind of the macabre nature of it. So yeah, I'm down for it. So let's see. And then Mike says it came out of nowhere. Yeah, and I do think sometimes that's it with King. Sometimes his endings just do kind of spring on you quickly. But that's King in a lot of ways. So let's go ahead and jump over to number 5.
Ted, do you count the Simpsons movie as an adaptation? That's fucking great, Joseph.
That's good.
Well done.
Indeed.
You didn't answer the question, sir.
No, it's not. I do feel bad for King the way that worked out, though.
I know.
Because didn't he say he wrote that first line with the cow getting cut in half back in the 70s?
It was a woodchuck, not a cow.
Yeah, it was a cow in the show. That's right. That's right. It was a woodchuck.
It's a
but I think he said he
yeah.
wrote that in the 70s, and then it was just literally a couple pages, and he just didn't know what else to do with it, so he threw it in a thing, and then by the time he writes it, the Simpsons movie comes out right before, and indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed, and it has all the same themes too. You're
ruining our planet. You're done, Springfield.
With the climate change, and so it's very interesting. But number 5 is Joyland, and it says King's recent publications have seen him delve into the pulpy crime stories, though not without their share of horror. Joyland follows Devin Jones, whose summer job at North Carolina amusement park offers him romance, ghosts, and the search for a serial killer.
Yeah.
That sounds fun. While certainly not as dense as many of King's other works, there's a beautiful simplicity to it, to its America and coming-of-age narrative. Plus, carnivals and amusement parks still feels like an untapped setting that offers a rich aesthetic and colorful cast of characters. Though a TV series was pitched by Freeform in 2018, no progress has been made since. Joyland feels as though it would be best served as a small-budget feature from a filmmaker who can capture all the longing nostalgia of early adulthood. So I actually haven't read this, so I don't really.
Yeah,
I don't know if I could really rank it. Personally.
It sounds intriguing. We have people like Joseph in the chat who says 10. Joyland was a great read.
I don't think I've ever heard anyone say anything bad about it either.
I don't think I've heard anyone say even remotely mediocre things about it. Every person who says Carol says a 10.
10, yeah.
And every person who because Joyland came up. What was it? June, May, somewhere around there. We were talking about Joyland. And I put it on my wish list after we talked about it because it just sounds...
I think we talked about it because of later, because it's the hard case, whatever. What is it? Hard case, whatever. It's the series because it's the Colorado Kid, Joyland.
Hard case crime. It's in the top left right there. With
hard case crime. So there's this one. I think Colorado Kid is one, and then later's one. I think maybe another one. But ultimately, so for me, later was the one where I was just like, man, this is the first one I've read of this whole hard case crimes.
Yeah.
So it made me kind of want to go back and read the other ones, and so I haven't put it on my list yet. But Joyland's one I want to read, but I haven't up to this point. Spencer says a 7.
I think that's where I'm going.
Captain David says haven't read it.
I'm gonna go 6. I would do a 5 like I have with others that I haven't read and have really have like no opinion. But I'm going to trust the extended content here. I've heard a lot of good things from you about this, so I'm going to go 6 for this.
Yeah, I think me too. For me, it'd be an arbitrary number because I just don't have enough connection to it. But again, I've never heard a bad thing about it. Everyone else here is pretty high. So yeah, I'd probably go 6 or so.
Call it a 6?
Yeah, which is considerable considering I haven't read it. So
I like Carol's. It's hard case crime, but all Stephen King. Carol, right there. That's the tagline for the movie. It's a hard case crime, but it's all Stephen King.
Yeah, and you know what you could do is just lump all of them in as like an anthology trilogy, kind of like the Cornetto trilogy.
Yeah,
you know, they don't have to be super connected, but it's like there's that through line that's just whatever. So get the same filmmaker,
there you go.
Sign them up for all of them, and do it that way.
Yeah.
So number 4, and this one I know you've read, and this is Revival. I have not read yet. It has a quite a bit of a it's high on my
Carol. Yes, lots of S's.
It's high on my list with Revival because I just know its reputation. I do want to read it, but he says we were robbed. He says Revival is King's scariest novel in years, containing an ending that I still can't shake. In 2020, it was announced that the modern horror maestro Mike Flanagan to be adapting the novel for a feature film. Anyone who saw Dr. Sleep and Gerald's Game knew that we were in for something special. Flanagan completed the script late that summer, which met King's approval, and then Warner Brothers canceled the project. I still haven't gotten over it. He says to backtrack a bit, Revival is King's Frankenstein, his own means of playing with the concept of resurrection and the power of the gods. It begins with the arrival of a young preacher, Charles Jacobs, and his friendship with young boy James Morton. And follows these characters through the years as they struggle with faith and the attempts to change the course of life and death through experiments with secret electricity. It is a stunning and horrifying novel that truly deserves a big screen adaptation. He says, but I'll add this caveat: while most of these adaptations can be handled well by a multitude of filmmakers, it should be Flanagan who revises Revival, as it is perfectly within the themes that he has explored throughout his filmography. So, I mean, when is Flanagan not the answer? Maybe that should be a t-shirt. When is Flanagan not the answer? Because really, he is always
all hail Mike Flanagan.
Yeah, I mean, my God, man, he's brilliant. I do know also Josh Boone was also took a swing at this. I saw there was a podcast or something that they were both on, and they discussed it. Both of them kind of discussed it for a second, where they both had done both written scripts. Both of them gave it to King, and then both times the studio basically ultimately it comes down to is that this is going to be an expensive fucking movie to make, because as it says, it spans over decades.
Yeah.
So it's going to be really hard because it's going to be a whole multitude of casting. You're going to potentially have to do some set pieces and stuff. You're gonna have to be in different times throughout history or whatever. Not history, but like it's not all in one time period. It's not all modern. You might have to fast forward or rewind back to the 1990s, which means whole level of
the main
production.
The main character starts as a boy, is a teenager or young man. A young adult, and then middle aged, and then a little bit older, and then the person opposite him, like would be the supporting actor, is late 20s, early 30s.
Yeah.
Late 40s, early 50s.
Yeah.
Ancient. Like 70s, late 70s, early 80s. So, yeah, it would be a difficult task to do. But if we're giving it to Mike Flanagan, give it to me up. No needles.
Now,
no hooking it to my veins. Give me an 8.
Here's the thing.
Yeah,
what if it's Flanagan with Netflix, which is a little bit more free with the purse strings, and also that would give him potentially the ability to do a couple things and not a movie.
Chat.
Now it's needles.
If this is the next Flanagan series where it's 7-8 episodes and I get him with no restrictions and Netflix just basically hands him a blank check and just goes, all right, Mike, it's time. Go ahead, get us another one.
Again, I haven't read it, so I don't know the context, but if it is spread over time, to me that sounds like a perfect opportunity to, maybe it's not 7 or 8. It could even, again, it could be that like 3 to 5 episode, that allows you to.
It would be perfect at 8. It would. There's enough there, because what would be really good is you have like those 3 different times where these characters cross paths and they don't stay together. Yeah. It's not like, well, let me tell you about what happened with me and Tad when we were in high school. Okay, well, let me tell you about me and Tad when we were in our 20s. Now let me tell you about me and
Yeah.
Tad when we were in our 30s. It's me and Tad crossed paths when I was 12 years old. Me and Tad crossed paths when I was 22. Me and Tad crossed paths when I was 45. You know, that kind
Yeah.
of thing. So with that, I think that if you had more episodes, because you want to be able to fill that time
Yeah.
in between.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. Mike says, based on the episodes of Dark Tower Palaver, Mike Flanagan is spending the next 90 years working on Stephen King adaptations.
I will tell you right now.
Is there any?
I will tell you right now. I will throw everything under that damn bus if Flanagan said Dark Tower. If they
Throw it
said,
under the van?
I'd throw it off the bridge, sir.
How dare you? I mean,
I would throw Revival. I would throw Under the Dome. I would throw Firestarter. I would throw Carrie. I would throw I would throw the fucking Stand. I would throw it off of the bridge.
what about Talisman?
I would throw Talisman off of the bridge
Wow.
if it meant I got Flanagan doing a series for Dark Tower. And I'm talking not a limited series. I'm talking 4 seasons minimum.
yeah, yeah.
If I got that I would take that as the last Stephen King adaptation of all time.
yeah.
If they're just like,
I mean-
they're like, if they came to you and said, Tad, we will have Flanagan do 5 seasons of The Dark Tower on Netflix with no budget restriction.
Just stop
blank
right
check,
there. Stop right there. You don't even know. I don't even know what the other option is.
Or
It doesn't even matter. It doesn't. It doesn't at all matter, man. It's kind of like one of those like where like there's the Simpsons. Was it the Simpsons movie where there? Or no, it's one of the Treehouse of Horrors where like the world's gonna end and Lisa is one of the ones that gets a seat to the rocket
Yeah.
to leave the Earth that's about to be destroyed. And they're like, Lisa, we got a really hard question for you. You can only take Mom. She like
Mom.
cuts him off. Like that's me. That would be me in that. Like you don't even have to tell me what the other side of your equation is there, sir. It's not going to win.
I'm
Like,
just saying, if it's all of other King's works adaptations in the future for all time, nope.
I mean,
Give me-
yeah.
give me Dark Tower.
We're doing a Dark Tower Palaver podcast.
There's a reason we're
right?
here,
Yeah, exactly.
you know?
That's always going to be the top. That's the crown jewels of the King Empire. Carol says in my ratings, Flanagan is doing all of them, which yeah, I'm definitely down with that. Captain David says Dare to Dream, and then Carol says Peter says everything else must go.
I'm just saying. Is there anyone in the chat that would disagree with me if we got the option to have that from Flanagan in
Hashtag give me Dark Tower from Carol.
That's Flanagan's Tower.
Yeah.
That needs to be a hashtag Flanagan's
That's-
Tower.
there
Needs
we
to be
go.
something we need to start.
Let's go and go.
Let's get
yeah,
that. Let's get that going.
yeah, exactly.
I'm telling you, Flanagan's Tower gets a
Everyone's
gets a 4 from me.
everyone's agreeing. For Revival for me, haven't read it, but I will say this is probably like an 8.
Yeah.
Just because the reputation, and I kind of know the gist already. So it's kind of the spoiler ending or whatever. I kind of get the gist of what it is. It sounds incredible. If it's Mike Flanagan, it's a 10. I mean, if we're going with his assertion that it has to be Mike Flanagan, then it's a 10 because you say Flanagan King, I say
I'm
10.
there.
Yeah, I say 10.
I'm there.
Yeah, indeed. So jumping to the next one, number 3, and this is another one that you might be familiar with recently, and that is Sleeping Beauties.
Hey.
Number 3 says in the midst of a shifting political climate, Stephen King collaborated with his son Owen King to co-write Sleeping Beauties. The novel, set in a small Appalachian town, sees all of the world's women fall asleep, encased in a mysterious cocoon, leaving men to rule the world. When the women re-emerge in an alternate dimension, a post-apocalyptic version of their town, they have a chance to rebuild without the influence of men. Now, I'm going to pause real quick and say I've heard the whole women cocoon thing. I have never heard that there was another half of that.
Yeah.
I didn't know. Dude, that changes everything. Like, this is now, like, pretty high on my list to read now. Because that is... that. Why is that not, like, what I've always heard? I've always just heard, oh, women go into cocoons. Nobody knows why. And that was, like... That's the gist of what I've always heard about this novel. I never heard there was another side of it for the women. Like, my
Yeah.
God, man.
Yeah.
Why has no one told me until now?
That and if the women are in the cocoon and you try to wake them up, like rip the cocoon, they go crazy and kill you.
Yeah, some Last of Us Berserker stuff. Or not Berserker, whatever they call them. Clickers.
Last of Us.
Yeah, the video game.
Never played it.
I played a little bit of the first one.
I need to play it. I've heard great things about it, but I've never had a chance to play it. I own it.
Yeah.
I hear that it's not daughter friendly is something someone told me, and I'm just like,
she's plenty old enough now. It says on the surface, Sleeping Beauties is a story about gender dynamics, but it's also a story about human nature and the roles in which we resign ourselves. As another one of King's sprawling multi-character works, Sleeping Beauties could be best served as a premium cable or streaming miniseries. AMC picked up a pilot in 2019, but no further development has been made. Though with the current gender debate now, feels like the right time to revive the project and do it with an inclusive cast of trans and non-binary actors, further exploring the man-made concepts of gender-specific roles. So, yeah, I mean, dude, just that, outlining the fact of the other half of it, this is going to be high for me. I'll say this is like an 8.
I will say this one's a 9. It's just barely under a 10. Hook it to my veins. One of the things, Carol, you absolutely need to read this one with some of the stuff that we've talked about before. This one is one of the very few King works that not only has one female lead, it has 2.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, the female side of it gives you options to have, I don't know, maybe Kathy Bates comes back and
not if she's a hero. She's a villain,
role,
isn't she?
You know?
What with the sledgehammer and all that? I don't know if you can trust her.
No.
Let me go ahead and change the slide.
Don't you dare. Don't do it, Ted. Not today. Not after the week you've put me through. Don't do it.
So you put a 9 on Sleeping Beauties?
I'd put a 9 on it because it would be you'd still have some male supporting actor roles, but I think there's the 2 actresses that would be the 2 characters that would be the lead actresses, and I would put them as leads. And if they don't, and if they bury that, I'd be very upset. That would drop it down to a 1 for me. It is very vital that the 2 characters, and I can remember the name of one, and I can't remember the name of the other one, but Eve, and then I can't remember the sheriff's name. But even the sheriff, if they don't make them the main characters, the focus of this whole thing, 1.
Yeah.
Get it out of here. But if it's those 2, give it 9. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like I said, I've only ever heard the first part of that thing. So, I'm much more into it. So Carol said 5, never read it. Robert says 8, heard great things, didn't read it. So, doesn't sound like it's as read. But yeah, it sounds like we got some variance across what we would want to, where everyone sits on the scale here. So now we're getting up to, again, he's not really ranking it, so I don't want to say top 2, but we are getting up here to the second one, and he does have at number 2, The Institute. So he says, like Firestarter, the Institute centers on kids with special abilities, telekinesis, telepathy, who are captured by a secret government organization with intentions to exploit their powers. Luke Ellis, a 12-year-old genius, finds himself captured and used as part of a program that guides the world through telepathic assassinations. There is some allegory in the novel about the way in which adults gamble with children's futures for their political and social ambitions. But the true strength of the Institute is the compelling cast of young characters, which has drawn comparisons with the novels of It, along with The Body. And it says Spyglass Television optioned the novel for a limited series ahead of publication in 2019, once again 2019, but has not moved forward since. Because again, God knows what the hell's going on right now. There's so many of the studios right now are just so log jammed with what they have that I just don't think that a lot of what was signed in 2019 or even into early 2020, none of that stuff's even they haven't even moved forward yet because they're so backlogged with shit that we're already piling up. So
also, I read an article that was saying that one of the holdups with some of these log jams like we're talking about here is there's just not enough VFX companies. Special effects is so backed up that yes, Disney and Marvel and stuff like that are going to get theirs steamrolled through. Yeah, but some people have been commenting on some of the even top-notch MCU movies, being like, "Man, the CGI just seemed a little bit off on this one." Well, yeah, that's because they're overworked, underpaid, and overtaxed right now. And this one is one of those ones that I'd give it a 7. For the Institute.
And that's what Mike has it as a 7. Carol says Kids with the Shine. It's a 10 for me. And then Carol says there's just something special about the number 19 because of 2019. Indeed. Spencer says solid 8 for the Institute. For me, I think I'm up at a 9 for this one, man. I really enjoyed this, and the whole escape, that whole thing would just be absolutely incredible to see on screen.
It would be so good.
It was edge of my seat, dude. There was times I felt like I was reading, I wasn't breathing because I was just waiting for the wrong thing to happen. Because the poor kid goes through a lot, man. So
does.
by the time you get to the actual escape, you're expecting as a reader for it to just go wrong. Like it's not one of those things where you're like, oh, yeah, this is going to work out because it's a story. No, the way the whole story went, you're just like, no, he's going to get caught right here. This is it.
Oh, he made it.
Every single time. Every single time.
I love what Robert says. 9 for me. King writes kids so well. Damn, that's so, that's the, hitting it right on the head there for the nail. That's
King and kids, like that's okay, cool. Let's go ahead and move forward on that. That's a pretty high numbers across the board. Really enjoyed that one. Would love to see it. And then
I know what number 1 is. I'm going to go ahead and just fill the chat with it because I already know what it is.
Do you now?
I do. It's the Dark Tower.
I mean, of course it is. The Dark Tower, number 1.
Is that enough?
And like honestly, I did think to myself, do we really even need to rank it? Like Josh says 19, so he's breaking the scale there for a 19.
There you go. Is that enough?
So he says, I couldn't let you go without serving the beam.
I mean,
he says The Dark Tower is the White Whale, the project that nearly every King fan has dreamt of seeing adapted. The 8-book series has followed King throughout his career and woven itself into a significant amount of his other works. It's his magnum opus, a series that just as much about King himself as it is about the gunslinger Roland and his quest for the Dark Tower, the nexus of the multiverse. Says it's all the genres King has expressed love for: horror, fantasy, sci-fi, fiction, or science fiction, western, crime, romance. It also displays his pennant for a huge cast of characters, settings with deep histories and mythos and allusions in both his own work and those done by others. It's no wonder the series has proven to be such a challenge to adapt. J.J. Abrams, Damon Lindelof, Ron Howard, and Glenn Mazzara have all sought to faithfully adapt King's book across the film and television. Though the story structure, budget, and skeptical studios all proved to be insurmountable. It says the film adaptation 2017 starring Idris Elba attempted to cram too much into a 95-minute runtime and just doesn't work. It's certainly not the worst film ever made from King's work, but it doesn't capture the Dark Tower. Just when it seems Mazzara had the solution with the TV series that would have begun with a young Roland and his exploits. As covered in the 4th novel, Wizard and Glass, Amazon pulled the plug. Bastards. But cause a wheel, and hopefully we won't be too long until some filmmaker reaches the Dark Tower and explores all of its infinite possibilities.
Yep.
And what was that hashtag you just created earlier, sir?
Hashtag
Flanagan's Tower. Yeah, I mean, I know maybe it's a joke at this point that we're all picking Flanagan for everything, but like he's never the wrong choice. And yes, I will sacrifice everything to have him do the Dark Tower. Like and he wants. He said it's a dream project for him too.
While Tad was talking, I leaned over and Tad's got his nice series right here. Just.
Yep. Mike says 100 out of 10. You've got your syringes all over there. Carol says
that's at least 19.
Carol says, "Be still, my heart." Spencer, crank it up to 11. There, that's a good Spinal Tap reference. Got some emojis in the chat. Thank you, Robert. Mike says, "Let's all say together, Mike Flanagan." Yes, indeed. Flanagan's Tower hashtag. Glenn Mazzara had great ideas. Is what Robert says. Josh, impossible decision. Carol, the next book adaptation needs no introductions. It's a 10. Josh says, no more King books. 8, a perfect Dark Tower series. Now that's a hard one. Do you trade
King books?
Do you trade all future King books for a Dark Tower?
I'm good with where we're at. Give me a series.
I'll say that's
Give me a series.
That's a Sophie's choice though.
I know that I'm gonna get.
Right.
I might get some flack for that, but I'm good with where we're at.
Captain David hashtag my life for Flanagan.
If Fairy Tale's the last one, okay.
Yeah.
If it's
like, see, here's the monkey paw of it, though. You'd sign off on that, then somehow it becomes known that you made that choice, whatever higher being brought, whatever Gan brought that to you. And then King calls you up and goes, just so you know, Jericho Hill was the next book in the list. See, monkey paw. Gotta love the monkey paw. Because monkeys are just lovable creatures, right, Peter?
Hey, you know what? You said no more Stephen King books. Do they have to be published under King? Can't Joe Hill just take them? And Mike makes a very good point. There's so many Stephen King books sitting in a drawer waiting to be published.
Yeah.
What if Joe Hill and Owen just take a couple and make a little change here, make a little change there, and it's a Joe Hill book, and it's a Owen King book. I'm all right with that. Jericho Hill by Joe Hill.
Trying to get around the monkey paw, but yeah, we don't have to
stop saying monkey.
We don't have to discuss that much further. I know we were all going to have 10s here because it's just
Josh says he likes how I think.
So Dark Tower Flanagan. So that's the end of it, though. That's the end of the list. That was a little bit of a longer discussion, but it was, I don't know, it was fun
That's
stuff.
a good discussion.
Yeah, fun stuff.
That's a good one.
So this next one is just a short list, but it's a fun one. So Stephen King, I guess it gives away in the title a little bit, but we'll go ahead and go over here. 4 King-created killers who could square off with the Predator after the author pitches The Children of the Corn. So basically, Stephen King tweeted after Prey that he's like, what would happen if the Predator versus Children of the Corn? So that's kind of sparked this. This is Eric Eisenberg from Cinema Blend on August 27th, 2022. And it says Stephen King is an avid Twitter user. He's been known to give franchise ideas for free on social media. For example, he has a vision of the future of the Friday the 13th movies. It's a sequel titled I, Jason. More recently, the filmmaker pointed his attention toward the world of the Predator. Following the successful and critically acclaimed launch of Prey on Hulu, King suggested the next chapter of the sci-fi series see the aliens go toe-to-toe with some of his own creations, namely Children of the Corn.
Pennywise would wipe the floor with Predator.
It says, reading this tweet got my constant reader brain whirling. If Children of the Corn is an interesting matchup for the Predator, what other Stephen King created killers could fill that role well? The musing has coalesced in the form of this feature and the analysis of King characters who could make an interesting rival for one of the pop culture's most most battle-hungry monsters. So
we have a question in the chat. Josh asks, have y'all seen Prey? Is it actually good or a cash grab?
It's incredible.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of people I've been seeing that were saying it's like the best since the first, but I don't agree because the second one is fucking brilliant. There's a lot of people that shit on the second one and just treat it like it's a shit sequel. It's not. I fucking love the second one. I love the first one. Prey is brilliant. I loved the fuck out of it.
So good.
Yes.
I also love the idea that since it was released directly to Hulu, I love the idea that you can go into the settings and change it to where it's is it Comanche? Is the Native American?
You can do a Comanche dub. They filmed a Comanche dub, which I think marks the first film in history that's had a Comanche language. I do know that there was a Navajo. I don't remember if it was dubbed or if it was a subtitle, or I think it was dubbed. A Navajo of Star Wars. That was actually a really big thing back in the day.
Yeah, that was a big thing. That was within the last 15 years, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I know it was. It was
probably inside the last 8 years or so.
Yeah, because it was when I was working with you previously.
Yeah,
that we found that out because one of our coworkers was Navajo, and so when we went and we told them, they were like, "Are you serious?" We're like, "Yeah." It was really cool.
Yeah, definitely cool. Robert says Tommy Knockers, 100 feral cats.
Stop it!
Thank you, Robert.
Get out of here with
you should throw a cat emoji in there just to really give it
Robert.
to Peter.
Robert. Come on.
All right, so the first on his list of the 4, Children of the Corn, from Children of the Corn.
Ah, come on. From Carol?
Thank you, Carol. Awesome. But basically what he says it makes sense to start with King's actual pitch, right? He says, because in addition to being the inspiration for this feature, it's also pretty fun and screwed, and it's a fun and screwed up idea. The children of Gatlin, Nebraska kill anyone over the age of 18 who makes the mistake of coming into their territory, and their sacrifice is offered to the mystical He Who Walks Behind the Rows to ensure a healthy harvest of corn. What makes Children of the Corn so fascinating of a foe for Predator is the question of how will they fit into whatever moral code the alien possesses. He says we know they won't kill an opponent that is unarmed, but do they have an issue with killing children? And the thing is, I think they do, because they do not go after that detective that's pregnant in Predator 2, in that whole massacre in the subway.
The kid in the cemetery wants some candy.
Yeah, but remember that massacre in the thing, she's shooting at him, and so that's when
he detects.
But then he detects the fetus. It's nope, he leaves her alone, kills almost everyone else. But so that would be an interesting thing.
Roland drops the Predator in one shot. Don't even.
And it says, and if they don't have an issue with one child, what about an entire village of them? Yeah. It'd be a strange thing to see a movie made with young religious zealots as the protagonists, but it would definitely be fun to watch, which that's true. Imagine seeing the Children of the Corn as the good guys in the movie, sir. That's an interesting thought. And then Predator versus Roland. That's your reaction.
I'm saying Roland, one shot, boom, Predator down.
So next one, this one might be one that you might enjoy a little bit. John Rainbird from Firestarter.
Rainbird would actually probably stand a chance.
I think that might actually be a movie wise.
Not that one.
Oh yeah, dude. You want George C. Scott in Redface?
No, I want the one from the book. Not either one of those.
Oh, I think he embodies the role in a better way. Now, how he's treated and stuff by the movie, you can't hold that against him. it wasn't him that whatever. But yeah, it says John Rainbird is the principal antagonist for Firestarter and has some standout qualities. One that immediately stands out being that he's a psychopath. He's introduced in the story as a mercenary who operates as a hired gun for the division of the government known as the Shop, and becomes obsessed with the girl he is tasked to hunting down, Charlie McGee, a powerful young girl with pyrokinesis. He demonstrates a fascination with the supernatural right up to his fiery death in the book, and perhaps can be tied to an experiment with extraterrestrials early in his life, or basically asking, can he be tied to extraterrestrials earlier in his life, which would be this. It says we also learn a lot about, or we don't learn a lot about John Rainbird's story in Firestarter, but one thing we do know is that he's a Vietnam veteran, and that would make for an excellent background for the Predator hunt. The jungle setting would present a challenge for filmmakers attempting to differentiate it from the original, but it's a tale that could add new perspective in regards to why Rainbird is who he is in the Stephen King novel, and the ballad could be used as a jump-off point to craft commentary about the international conflict. So yeah, I think Rainbird, in terms of overall movie, I've seen all four of them. I know what they all are. I think this would be the best movie because it's just, yeah, feels like the right kind of guy to go against a Predator.
Carol says, quoting Peter, "Now let's be perfectly honest. Them kids come at the Predator, he will kill all of them." I mean, she's not wrong.
Or he'll just set the self-destruct after they fuck with him too much, and they'll just blow the whole town up.
They mount him up there and everything, like on the corn, and just
and it starts laughing at him. Then as it blows up, yeah. Let's see. Next up is, as you mentioned, Pennywise from It. It says, when you look at the Predator franchise from a certain angle, the eponymous aliens very much seem like bullies. They're biologically bigger than humans. They possess weaponry that's far more advanced, and yet they're constantly depicted as coming to Earth to hunt us. But one thing I'll point out that he's missing, though, Predators are good sportsmen. They match what they're using to what's being used against them.
They don't use their
I saw someone bitching
projectiles until
I saw someone bitching about in Prey they didn't use the shoulder plasma can. I'm like, yeah, because they match what's being used against them, right? So
he goes against you go against animals in Prey.
Yeah,
he doesn't pull out his weapons.
Yeah,
he goes hand to hand.
And when humans start to escalate, he escalates.
He defends himself.
It says, looking at King's canon of killers, it feels only fair that the extraterrestrial gets paired with at least one villain that isn't native to this planet, and Pennywise the Dancing Clown would present a fantastic challenge. It says Pennywise from It is an extraterrestrial entity that feeds on the fear and spends generations making a haven for itself in Derry, Maine, and consumes members of the population. It lures its prey using shape-shifting abilities and frequently transforms into said prey's greatest terror before introducing its true form, the Deadlights. It may seem like kind of dumb on its surface, but Predator versus Pennywise film would be fascinating for a few reasons, including the fact that it would probably demand that the Predators be the protagonist.
Yeah,
which that's an interesting concept, and also because the movie would surely end up depicting what predators are afraid of.
See, that's what I was waiting for. Is like, are they afraid of anything?
Oh, they have to be. I mean, just because we see them, that'd be like someone like some animal on a safari looking at a human, going, man, they're probably not afraid of anything. They just come in here and blast the fuck out of us, you know. So that's kind of how I view it. So and then he finishes off by saying it's surely something that any fan of the franchise would want to see. And I think that would be interesting. What are predators afraid of?
Jack says, can we count Charlie in the Choo Choo book? I want to see Engineer Bob using the heat of Charles' engine to hide from predators. The film writes itself. I love the spirit of it.
Yeah, indeed. And then the last one that he puts forward in this article here is Chet Ondowski from If It Bleeds. He says, unlike all the other Stephen King created killers on this list, Chet Ondowski is the only one who has not yet been featured in film or television, but give it time. And here's to hoping. He says he is the principal antagonist of the novella If It Bleeds, a sequel to The Outsider, and he is similar to Pennywise that he is not human, even though he appears to be. Despite this connection, I feel that it is appropriate for the character to be pitched anyway, as his relationship with the Predator would be completely different than It. Chet Ondowski, and he says, which of course isn't his real name, but a guy's, is another one of Stephen King's emotional vampires, for lack of a better identifier, and what he feeds on is pain that comes with loss. And all of the Predator movies have been made thus far have been about the alien hunting the protagonist, but Chet is a monster that could flip that script and take stalk the Predator, feeding on the hurt that it leaves in its wake as the alien kills. Which that's an interesting concept.
It's hunting, and as it kills, Chet is coming up behind it and just
eating the sorrow of what's left
Yeah.
in Predator's wake. It says it also happens to be pretty funny that if it bleeds is reminiscent of the iconic line from the 1987 Predator, albeit there's no relationship to their actual usage. In the novella, the title's reference to the phrase, if it bleeds, it leads, not if it bleeds, we can kill it. So that's a fun little thing. But yeah, that's, like I said, just a short list. I mean, there's some other ones we could probably come up with. Is there any off the top of your head that come to mind that you'd say would be Predator or opponents? Is the right word?
if we're talking killers, Charlie McGee.
Yeah, I thought Charlie Carey.
She's a mass murderer, for God's sake. Same with
Charlie and
same
Carey.
With, Carey.
Yeah, those are the ones that immediately came to mind when I saw the headline.
Seems like he's just doing villains here, but let's be perfectly honest. Some of our protagonists are downright murderers.
Yeah, and Roland was mentioned earlier in the chat.
Mentioned.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for you to say it.
What?
Where's your boy?
What, Flag?
Yeah, where's your boy?
He would win, man.
Would he?
Flat. Unless it cheated and used a nuke or whatever the hell the thing is they have on their arm. It's nuclear in nature.
Seems like it.
But yeah, and we know Flag doesn't do well against nukes. So too soon.
We know Oi would beat him.
Oh yeah. He might get wrung like a rag. We're getting up to that pretty soon in the book clubs, as a matter of fact. Getting Oi wrung like a rag.
Hashtag Ted is terrible.
I'll go against you just legit and just say if he can't beat a baby spider, then he can't beat a predator.
Wow.
That took a second for that to sink in for you.
Did you just wait, hold on. Did you just say something negative about Flag?
No, about Oi.
Oh.
I meant that about Oi.
He didn't lose to a baby spider. That was a full-grown spider. Thank you very much. Flag lost to a baby spider.
I was about to say, I thought you were just shocked, amazed.
No, I was
said
shocked
something
that you
horrible.
were saying. I thought you were saying something about Flag because
no.
Flag gets eaten by a baby spider. Oi goes against an adult.
Do you think
spider.
Flag would be able to see the predator through its camouflages? Do you think is like his
He sees everything?
Yeah, that the eye that he has would probably see the predator. So
who's hunting who?
yeah, exactly. That would be plus just see the predator roaming around a cornfield. Like that scene from the Garra series.
Oh yeah,
which still freaks me out.
I have your hand in my blood, Predator, and then he squeezes and it's the green,
the green glowing blood,
the glow stick blood.
Yeah. Anything else I missed in the chat here?
Someone talking about making a GIF of Oi versus Predator, and then Mike adds to that and says on a bridge. It's Tad's favorite thing, just chucking Oi off a bridge.
No, it's
the amount of times Tad slanders Oi off the air is ridiculous.
Oh, now you're slandering me, huh?
I'm not slandering you. I'm pointing out a fact. You, before the show started, talked about Oi attacking Jake and mauling a boy. You didn't maul anyone. Shut the hell up.
All right, so the next one here is a fun one. This is the one that I was confusing earlier. It's why Stephen King's Misery deserves a remake.
Could she beat a Predator?
You see the Predator tied down to the bed.
Hobbles
no. Yes.
No. He goes to try to activate his new. You dirty bird.
Yeah, exactly. And this is by Aya Sinzaris from Game Rant on August 20th, 2022. Now, my inertial reaction was just like, there is no fucking way. And I'm going to set fire to everything when I read this headline. I'm just like, no way. But you know what? Then I remembered. You know what I keep saying? I keep saying that if you're going to readapt, it's not a remake. That's not. It's not any kind of affront to the original. I don't know what you could bring to the story necessarily, but I'm like, okay, I'll give this a shake. And yeah, I think this is actually an interesting article to consider.
Mike already chimed in and said, "No Misery remake. It can't be an improvement."
Yeah, and here's the thing.
That was your knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah, that's my knee-jerk reaction. But I wanted to hear this out, and ultimately, I'll even just give a spoiler alert and say what I think they're talking about here isn't necessarily even a full-on adaptation of Misery. It's kind of like close to, but more. I don't know. We'll get into it here. It says with the remake of Firestarter and Salem's Lot being released in 2022 and 2023, seems like a good time to revisit some other popular stories by the beloved Stephen King. The Shining got an updated film with Dr. Sleep in 2019. And it seems it would be a good idea to reboot Misery, which was released in 1990 and remains one of the greatest horror films from that decade. The story of author Paul Sheldon, James Caan, being kidnapped by his biggest fan, Annie Wilkes, Kathy Bates, is classic and feels more relevant today than ever, which that you can't argue. Like, Kathy Bates and the whole Annie Wilkes thing feels more like it was written for today than it was back when it was written. Like, it just feels so modern with like the internet community and the way people feel entitled, you know, towards like the creators of their favorite fandoms and stuff. It just feels like, legitimately, if you just told someone the basic outline of Misery and say, when do you think this was written, I guarantee they're going to say within the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Like, just seems like it would be.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Just kind of popped into my head. When did it become a kidnapping?
What do you mean?
Obviously it's a kidnapping, but
Yeah.
he wrecked his car.
Yeah, no, I don't
And
think
she's rescuing
it's not a
him.
kidnapping at first.
But when did exactly? Thank you for Tad. Thank you, because I would have fumbled over that if you had not understood that.
Yeah.
But at what point does it become a kidnapping? Is it when she restrains him to the bed?
Yeah, probably that.
At that point, it
Yeah.
becomes a kidnapping, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Or is it
'Cause
when
the-
she gets him back to the house and starts treating him, she doesn't call for help?
It could be part of it too.
See, it's kind of interesting to think about. I've never thought about that before because, perfectly honest, I mean,
it is Annie Wilkes.
if you're defending her in court, you're her attorney, right? I mean,
Yeah.
first off, you're going to require that there be a
she's in the Hannibal Lecter thing.
Exactly.
She's in the Hannibal Lecter thing, and there's no sledgehammers within the entire county.
She's on video in the jail, and then you're in the courtroom. She's just a TV. A TV presence next to you.
It would have to be she's next to me, tied up like Hannibal Lecter with the mask on, and there's no the sledgehammers of the entire county are removed.
No hammers,
Everything.
no hammers, no axes, none of that within the county that you're in.
Yeah.
But you're defending her. I mean, she was just so taken aback that it was her idol, her favorite author, and she was just trying to do the right thing, and she broke his foot. Well, yeah, his leg had to be reset,
Yeah.
You can't prove to me that it didn't, that kind of thing. Could you,
Mike says she needs-
actually defend her a little bit?
Mike says, nope, she needs to be frozen in carbonite.
I want to see a lawyer. Do we have a lawyer in the chat?
No, I don't
Could
think
someone see about defending Annie Wilkes.
There would have.
Tad?
That would be an interesting thing, as like an attorney having a YouTube channel where they're given pop culture things to
I saw one.
That they're a defense attorney.
Someone did that with the Joker. I mean, I'm a huge Batman fan. Someone did that with the Joker, and I'm like, oh my god.
I mean, he's just a clown, right? Clowns are happy, lovable creatures.
I dare you to say that to my wife. I dare you.
Going on here, it says there are many reasons why Misery remake would work, including potential to tell the story in a contemporary way that utilizes social media and what being a fan means. Back in 2020, there was buzz about a remake of Misery. According to We Got This Covered, which I would pause there and say, no, there was no such news. And We Got It Covered is a fucking garbage website, and don't ever listen to them.
Okay.
It says there was a remake reportedly in development at the time, which that isn't true. It says, but beyond that news, there isn't much information available about this. So it's unclear if it's actually still happening, because it never was happening. It says in 2021, an interview with Men's Health, Jamie Foxx talked about having an idea for a Misery remake, which this is true. And Jamie Foxx said, opportunity gets me moving. Great idea. Then I went to sleep and woke up with shit was in my dream. Now I want to write a Black Ocean's 11 or just rewrote Misery. So we covered that back a while ago. It says a remake of Misery should definitely include a diverse cast, and it can also lean into social media. Scream in 2022 talks about the concept of fandom, and the brilliant Ingrid Goes West 2017 talks about a young woman's obsession with another woman on Instagram. A new Misery film could take both of these ideas and create something great. Perhaps it could even focus on an author who's great at using Instagram and TikTok and has many followers online, or a TikTok star or Instagram influencer whose big fan shows up and kidnaps them. It says in 2019, Pet Sematary remake makes the mistake of presenting a story that's too similar to the original. A remake of Misery should skip that mistake and say something interesting about what being a fan is like today. While Scream 2022 explained that the two Ghostface killers are huge fans of the slasher franchise, the movie doesn't lean into the social media too much. Which is true. Like it taps into like the whole fandom thing, but they completely skipped any element of social media for the most part. It says so. A new Misery could make a statement about how people are how people are used to seeing their favorite creators and influencers 24/7 and feeling like they know everything about them. It's definitely a strange, unique concept, unique to living in the 2020s. It says Misery is a horror movie with a satisfying ending as James escapes from Annie, which it's Paul, not James.
James Caan.
Yeah, James Caan, but it's like she uses James, but then says Annie and not Kathy. So it just mixed metaphors.
A little bit.
Yeah, Paul escapes from Annie and survives. In the chilling final scene, he sits at dinner and thinks that he sees Annie, but it's he's just seeing things. Paul has some trauma that has to work through, which he has to work through now, which of course is understandable given the terrible ordeal. It's an ending that feels right. It says this ending makes the new Misery feel even more important as a remake that could have a more in-depth, detailed discussion about mental health. The main character would need to be victorious against the creepy fan, and then the last few moments we could thoughtfully discuss how someone can process the emotions of trauma, heal, and move forward. So here's what I'm basically going to synopsize what I took from this is we're not talking about remaking it. We're basically talking like
modernizing.
Like Mike Flanagan wanted to do 1408.
Yeah.
1408 got signed by someone else, so he made Oculus. Totally original movie, but it does have some bones or thread and sinew that connects to 1408. That's what we need for Misery. We don't need a Misery remake. We need someone that's going to take the essential element of Misery, translate it to today using social media and that kind of stuff or whatever, and tell a whole different story. Wouldn't be called Misery. Wouldn't be connected to Stephen King. That's how I view this. And in that case, abso-fucking-lutely sign me up for that.
I just thought, I just had a really, really good idea. What if you told it as a flashback trauma tale?
Yeah, you could do that to go give them the mental health a little bit more.
You were reading it and it talked about him at the dinner having a flash of seeing Annie, right? Imagine if that's the opening scene.
Yeah.
Imagine if that's where we start.
Yeah.
And it's the author dealing with the celebrity. Let's call it a celebrity because what we're talking about is not being necessarily an author, but the celebrity is dealing with the trauma post that. Imagine seeing them try to go back to work. And let's say, I would love to see them be a television actor.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like the set of Supernatural, right? Because they did a couple episodes where you actually see the real set of Supernatural.
Yeah, kind of did the Freddy thing.
Like he came out of the TV show in real life.
One of the later Freddys, it's basically they're not going to make any more Freddys as the start of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So Freddy becomes real in the world to start basically to try to influence them to make another Freddy movie because he's going to cease to exist if they don't make more Freddy movies.
God.
So yeah, it gets really meta.
Yeah. So something like that where like a TV show where it's an ongoing TV show. It's been put on hold because this person had trauma.
Yeah.
And they're coming back now. And it's just like, imagine that. They're on scene. They're in the scene. They're having a conversation and everything like that. Make it a comedy even. And then they look over and they see someone who looks like their kidnapper.
Yeah.
And then you have them talking with a therapist and that's where you have the flashback, and that's where you have your Annie Wilkes character is in the flashbacks and everything like that. Dude, how good would that be?
Yeah, but I think the key though is it's not Misery.
It's not Misery, but have it be that trauma is what they're going back to, and that's where you have your trauma character, the one that caused it, is there in the flashbacks, and then it's up to the director, it's up to you, do we have them come back?
You can even do
they not come back and we actually see them start to heal? And
you can even do a Usual Suspects / Saw thing where you kind of backtrack, and as they're unpacking the past, you actually realize like the real kidnapper was at this fan event that they had, or maybe that's even John Lennon-ish, where the guy had got his autograph
hours before, the same day.
Robert says a Game of Thrones fan kidnaps George Martin and demands the ending. Yeah, that's if there's anyone that should be scared about Misery, it should probably be George R.R. Martin. Oh man, yeah, it's just interesting. Like I said, my knee-jerk reaction was like, absolutely not. Like I said, like just like I'm gonna whatever, just not accept it at all. But yeah, like I said, as I read this, I'm like, really, this she's making great points here. But really, as I take them all as a whole, I'm like, yeah, you're not talking about remaking Misery. You're talking about writing a story that's very Misery-esque. It's influence on Misery, but it's not Misery. And I think that would be a perfect place too, because now you don't have to worry about the fact that you're trying to step on one of the greatest performances in the history of horror, and one of the greater horror movies of the last 30 years. So,
I think that one of the things also that you said that it would be really cool to see a take of them, using social media and seeing them 24/7. Dude, the Batman just did that with the Riddler.
Yeah.
He was on Twitch, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Like, he had Twitch followers that were doing his bidding and giving him advice and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, there's one scene, if you look really close in the comments and stuff like that. No, it's one of the videos. He says, hey, great suggestion on this vest. It's exactly what I was looking for. I found it at the Army-Navy store.
Yeah.
And so, like, that is like exactly what this author, the the writer of this article is talking about, and what you're talking about is
Yeah.
like, let's modernize it. Let's have it influenced by misery.
Yeah, but it's
let's
not
have-
misery.
What would, if someone came to you and said, "Hey, we're going to do exactly what you're saying," what would be your choice? We're not doing author. That's blacklisted. We're not doing that. What would you want to do?
I probably would do it something, whether regardless of who they are, they could be an actor, they can be an athlete, whatever, but they'd be a heavy social, like who, like go Google like who's the top 5 social media people, and it's like I would mimic it off of that, whether it's The Rock or whether it's like a Kardashian. I don't know who all these. I don't know where the rankings are, but there's there's these people. There's like
who has the most followers on Instagram.
Yeah, there's like this an infographic I saw recently that showed it, and it kind of broke it down. And I don't remember who all the names were. I know The Rock was up there and stuff. There's some but it'd be something like that. Like not necessarily that it would be The Rock, but like I would find something like that and try to mimic it. I wouldn't just do some like mid-level influencer. I'd want like who's someone that really moves the needle, and go with that route. So, okay. So next up, we actually have some bad news.
Don't say that.
Yes.
Don't tell me that Tommy Knockers is getting adapted. Holy shit! Barack Obama has the most Twitter followers.
Twitter, yeah, but it's the infographic I saw like it combined Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and it basically used like different colors for that, whatever. But it was pretty cool. But yeah, something like that though. That's who I'd go with though. Is like I try to find something like maybe make it an athlete, maybe make it like an actor or something, but something like that to where. But they would be heavily social media influenced to where like people have this idea that like I'm always there with you. The second you wake up, you're making videos. I'm seeing you do your like morning workout. I'm seeing you cook breakfast.
Yeah.
Like so they feel like they're in their minds they're almost invited in again because there's obviously mental illness on both sides because like the mental illness of like trying to get over the trauma for the victim, but for the perpetrator it's the mental illness of like how did they get to the spot where you're Annie Wilkesing it.
We've seen that with a couple we're both big football fans. We've seen that with a couple football players recently where they're always on social media, always. Like they're doing videos before a game. Like during warm-ups, they're recording videos and dancing and doing stupid stuff like that. You're talking something like that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Robert says a series coming with a serial killer changed his psychiatrist in his house. Similar. It's called Patient. It's going to be on Hulu, and it stars Steve Carell.
Oh, God. Okay. All right. Well, now back to the bad news.
Oh.
So Gary Dalberman's Salem's Lot remake loses its release date.
What?
This there's 2 ways to look at this, but we'll go ahead and cover this. So by Ryan O'Rourke from Collider on August 25th, 2022, Warner Brothers Discovery reshuffled its upcoming slate of films again.
It's a Warner Brothers one?
Yeah.
Oh no.
So they redid their slate again, and while the Evil Dead heads are celebrating because the return of the Deadites to the is coming to the big screen with an unexpected theatrical release of Evil Dead Rise, it's bad news for Stephen King fans. Because basically, I don't think it really pans, but basically, Evil Dead got put on the date where Salem's Lot was.
Next year.
Yes.
Not this year's original one,
No,
but next year.
Next year. So
now it doesn't have a release date officially.
Yeah, so New Line Cinema's Salem's Lot remake has been taken off its originally planned April 21st, 2023 release date in favor of the Lee Cronin-directed sequel film with no words on when the remake of the classic King story will reach audiences. Gary Dalberman's adaptation has been had a rough go of it the last 2 months. While the film was originally intended to be released on September 9th, a lack of marketing throughout the summer, save for a tie-in book, indicates it wasn't going to make that date. And the thing that we're talking there is they put a Salem's Lot out that has a cover,
right?
Like throwing into like the upcoming movie or whatever. And it says it was finally delayed in mid-July with COVID-related issues hindering post-production. Without a release date now, Warner Brothers Discovery is likely weighing what to do with the final film. Although CEO David Zaslav, which is probably the biggest villain in filmmaking right now, his new philosophy is centered on theatrical releases, meaning it likely will have a home in theaters. There's some people that are speculating that it may just get bumped to HBO Max, but this guy seems like he's very against that. He thinks that
he's against dropping movies on HBO Max. He's come out and publicly said it.
Exactly. He thinks that there's more money to be made with them in theaters, so likely it should be in theaters still, hopefully. Says the film is part of a wave of high-budget horror remakes of late, though Salem's Lot had an extra promise due to its creative staff stacked with horror aficionados. Dalberman is home to his craft penning the It remake films, Annabelle and The Nun, while also making the directorial debut with Annabelle Comes Home. Part of his creative staff includes the director of photography, Michael Burgess, and first assistant director Jeffrey Wetzel followed him from his debut, as did horror icon James Wan, who was producing the film. So there's basically two spins on this. Ultimately, basically Warner Brothers delayed pretty much everything. They're only releasing 2 more movies the rest of the year. And their 2 DC films got delayed too. So we're talking, you could just take this as part of that. Like everything right now with Warner Brothers is kind of up in the air. You're talking, what was it? Black Adam and Aquaman. So you're talking potentially $1 billion box office things that were kicked to next year. So you could just take it as part of that, whatever, and that it's dragging into next year and everything's up in the air. But there is also some people online, allegedly, that either it's all kind of secondhand, so this all whatever.
Okay.
But I do want to mention it. There were some people that said that there was one guy I saw, I can't remember, it was Twitter or somewhere, that said that they knew someone that was in one of the test screenings. Yeah. And they said that if they basically were told by the person that was there that if they don't do any more reshoots, just skip it. It's terrible. And it's, scoring very badly, like very badly. So I don't know. Take that with a grain of sand. This is just someone online saying that I know someone that was in one of the test screenings and they told me this. But I did see a number of things that were kind of the general sense I was feeling is that the test screenings aren't going well with what they've got right now. So
one of the things also to add to it, obviously, is that WB is not against canceling movies altogether.
Yeah, Batgirl
very famously, Batgirl, which is it's a high $1 million budget,
a couple $100 million,
couple $100 million budget, and they're just like, nope, we're not releasing it. It's done. It's dead.
Yeah,
they've announced that, and they've killed it. And so it has me worried with that, but I could also see that they're going to take the time and do reshoots and try to save it and then put it out maybe
Halloween season.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Next year.
It really didn't make sense to put out Salem's Lot in April.
No.
I know that there's been a couple recently.
Not much.
But if we're going to have one and it's not doing well in test screens, instantly the first thought I had is, great, if they need time to do reshoots, now they have
do it. Yeah.
Now you got it. But I cringe. I worry that it's just going to get the axe,
Yeah, no, there's a lot. Like I said, all we know is the date has been moved. The rest of this is all just, who knows, speculation.
It's been, did you say removed or moved?
Removed. It has no release date right now.
Yeah, it's been removed and we don't know what's going to happen.
That doesn't happen very often, by the way. Usually things get delayed and stuff, but to pull it completely where it doesn't have a release date, that's...
Like Aquaman 2 and Black Adam both got new release dates when they got moved.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. That worries me a little bit. But yeah, that's the bad news. And then for some good news.
Okay.
Getting paid to watch 13 of the scariest Stephen King films.
Dude, sign me up.
And so this is from Mary Beth McAndrews from Dread Central on August 25th, 2022. So the U.S. Dish, which apparently is like Dish Network or whatever, apparently they've changed their name, team is looking for someone to participate in their 3rd annual Stephen King Scream Job. They're hiring a horror movie enthusiast to record their heart rate while they watch 13 of the most chilling Stephen King films for $1,300 and a Fitbit. So,
I'll do it.
It says applications will be accepted now until, and I'll have this in the show notes if you want to go apply, now until September 16th at 12 p.m. Mountain Central Time. Yeah, so it says MST.
Interesting that they have Mountain. Who? What?
Yeah.
Wait, what?
To apply, applicants must share why they want to be frightened this way in less than 200 words. For bonus points, they can include videos of why this is the Scream job for them. Here are the 13 films that U.S. Dish has picked for Stephen King's scariest films.
It Chapter 1, It Chapter
Carrie.
2. Okay.
Christine.
Okay.
Creep Show.
No. I'm out. I'm out.
Cujo. That's true. Mike just said in the chat if Tad got accepted, they'd be like, "Sir, are you awake?" That is true, actually, very much so. My heart rate is steady in horror movies. So Cujo, if you want to go see a monster Saint Bernard.
Saint Bernard.
Beasts, all of them.
No. Fluffy is a beast.
No.
Yeah.
Cujo is a beast. No. Even before he got bit, he was a beast.
No.
Next up, Dr. Sleep.
All right.
So you can get some Rose the Hat in your life. Next up, Firestarter.
Wait, which one?
Karate chop to the face. That's got to be...
Is it the original?
It doesn't say, but I'm assuming. Because there's a bunch of these, right? Christine could be, or Carrie could be one or the other.
Yeah.
and then Firestarter, yeah. So, but I assume it's probably the classics, generally speaking.
Yeah.
And then next up is It, and then It Chapter 2.
Mm-hmm.
Then Misery.
There you go.
Kathy Bates.
There you go.
The Mist.
Oh.
And then Pet Cemetery.
Oh.
And then Salem's Lot.
Okay.
And then The Shining.
Don't you mean The Shining?
That's a pretty good.
That's a good list.
That's a good list there. I like that.
I can't believe they put Creepshow on there.
It says, I mean, why not?
Terrifying.
Yeah.
Fluffy.
You got to get fluffy in your life. U.S. Dish launched the campaign in 2019 and received over 600,000 applicants for their first contest. Now they're looking for a genre lover to tell them which Stephen King villain is the scariest. Whoever wins the screen job will get $1,300 as well as a swag bag valued at $350 that includes the latest Fitbit. They've also prepared a Stephen King watch guide, which it's just not much. It's literally just like they list every Stephen King thing with like their release date, which okay, I don't know why.
You.
But yeah, that's it's fun stuff though. And it's always fun to have that guy on the screen, isn't it? Good old Pennywise. He's a happy, fella.
He's a happy clown.
He is indeed. All right,
Look
so
at him. He just looks happy.
So next up, moving over to odds and ends. Speaking of Pennywise,
Okay.
so Stephen King tweeted, and this this has been all the rage. So have you seen these AI things?
Yes.
Okay, so Stephen King,
We have a coworker that sent us one just the other day.
yeah. So Stephen King
Yeah.
tweeted, says this was done by an AI bot. I asked my tech friend Jake to put Pennywise on a bike, and it came out. This is what came out.
Oh my God.
And yeah, if you're listening and not watching, please go to the show notes and take a look, or go to Stephen King's Twitter. You'll find it. It's very, very disturbing.
That's terrifying.
And I also love that Stephen King is just like that dude, where he's just like my tech guy.
I don't know how to turn on my computer.
I love that.
I know he's not like that, but yeah.
I love that for King though. But yeah, this is quite the thing there. You should get a wall print of that, sir, and put it up in your house.
I'm pretty sure my wife would divorce me. I'm 99% sure that's what would happen, sir. Should I ask her? Should I text her real fast and have her jump in and be like, "Can I have this as a painting?"
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it.
See, yeah.
Leave it up on the screen for just a second.
Yeah, I'll leave it up for a second. Yeah, so I mean, these AI things are crazy. I think what really makes it creepier to me is these AI things don't fully grasp like reality. So there's kind of the uncanny valley that just is there, and it just doesn't look right, and it makes it more sinister.
I texted her and said to put her answer in the chat, so you got to leave that up for just a second. Oh, while we're waiting on my wife, let's talk about what happened last night on Creepshow.
What's that?
Do you remember the date that popped up?
Oh yeah,
You
yeah.
want to talk about that for a second?
Yeah,
Because
I guess-
that is fucking blowing my mind.
Yeah, so we were watching Creepshow for our Patreon for the Patreon show.
Yeah.
And in the best part of Creepshow, the episode called Crate or the Crate. So the crate on it has a date, and it's 1800s, it's like 1840 something or whatever.
Yeah.
But the thing that jumped out to both of us as we were watching it was the first part of the date, not the year, the day date. And this is again 1982 Creepshow.
My wife says in the chat, "No, you may not have that as a poster on our wall."
The date on the crate is June 19th.
And this came out in what year?
It came out in 1982. So June 19th, of course, is the day that Stephen King would be hit by a van
And almost died.
and almost died.
And it's on the crate in Creepshow, written by Stephen King,
Yeah, written by Stephen King.
starring Stephen King. Not in that particular part of it, but
Yeah.
what?
But yeah, it kind of blew my mind because it's just one of those things like, cool,
What?
19 popping up,
Yeah.
like here and there, fine. Like the whole numberology, number 23 bullshit, like it is what it is. When you fixate on a number, you're going to see it more.
Yeah.
But the exact fucking date,
It's not May 19th. It's not November 19th. It's June 19th.
yeah, which again,
And people will be like,
1 out of
well,
12 chance, right?
It's, 1 out of 12, and it's 19. King already had a thing with 19. But wait a minute. This is 1982. We only have Drawing of the Three.
no, we don't even have that. Gunslinger came out in 82.
Oh,
As a
that's
full
right,
novel.
As a full novel. Yeah. So we haven't even hit Drawing of the Three yet with
No.
19.
No.
Like, it's
So-
not planted yet. Like, it's not there. Like, we're not in Lud. We're not in Wizard and Glass or anything
No,
like
that That blew my mind,
Dude,
man.
it was It's
Yeah.
creepy.
That blew my mind. I mean, not as good as seeing Fluffy on screen, but it was good. All right, so next up, we got Uncle Stevie Recommends. First one Uncle Stevie recommends, Cleo on Netflix. He says, what a breath of fresh air. Suspenseful and also very funny. I wonder, though, where Cleo's money comes from. Flying off to Mallorca?
Mallorca?
Mustn't have been cheap even in 1989. Well, just enjoy. I don't know what this is, but Uncle Stevie is recommending it on Netflix. And then we have one more literary one, and it's The Deluge by Stephen Malarkey. And King tweets, this book is simply put a modern classic. If you read it, you'll never forget. Coming in January, I'll remind you, prophetic, terrifying, and uplifting. So I figured since I found both of those, I'm like, oh, give you one film and one literary from Mr. King.
Majorca. Okay.
Okay, Mike's saying it's an largest island in the Balearic Islands, which are part of Spain and located in the Mediterranean. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what Cleo is at all. So the fact that King's talking, I don't have any context. Like, are we talking flying there from London? Are we talking flying there from California? Like, I don't know. Ultimately, but that's King's tweet. But yeah, I have to look into what the show is and stuff. But yeah,
Coming
Cleo.
in January.
Yeah, and then The Deluge is a novel that he's recommending. So that's pretty fun.
Yeah.
So next up, we've got the Palaver section.
Okay.
Let's see. So I've got a couple questions first because we also have the quiz thing that we did, but I have a couple Palaver questions.
Yeah.
And we haven't gone super long necessarily in terms of like whatever. I didn't know how long the news would take or whatever.
Sure.
But so I saw a Reddit post. Someone was reading book 7, and they basically asked, they said they knew Oi was going to die, and they said, but they basically said, does King going to draw this out, or is it going to be quick? And then basically just. They knew it was going to come for some reason, and probably because we all did, right? We all knew that everyone was going to die. It just feels like once Eddie went down, like you just knew everyone was going to die. It was one of those things.
If you had any doubt, and like 2 chapters later, Jake goes.
And to me, because I think for me when I was reading it the first time, it came down to it was either going to be all of them or none but Roland.
Yeah.
That was going to be it. So if one fell, they were all done for. That was how I viewed it. But then most of the comments were people talking about it being the toughest part of the series. They didn't know that an animal in a book could make them cry. And, of course, many Olin comments. So, very rough. But then it made me wonder, which character's end is most heartbreaking for you? And no wrong answers. It's going to be different for everyone. It's completely subjective. But, yeah, what's the one that affected you the most?
Jake.
Yeah, and I think...
I would say Oi, but by the time
everyone in the chat too chime in because there are some rough ones. That whole book 7, man. And even book 6 if you want to throw Callahan in too. I mean, because it sucks to lose him.
Callahan doesn't die until the 7th book, doesn't he?
I thought he died. Isn't that a Dixie Pig in 6?
I always mix that up.
Everyone
That's what
does.
you were talking about.
Yeah, everyone does.
But yeah.
Yes.
No, for me, it's by the time I got to Oi, I was just so.
Mike says Randall Flagg. Proper answer there. Thank you, Mike. Great one. And that's always me. Like I actually have a candle that I have lit at all times for Randall Flagg for all of his appearances. Every day when it goes out, I'll light it again. Because it's Randall Flagg. My life for him. Josh says Eddie's death had me messed up for weeks after I finished the book. Mike saying #Tad is accurate. So it's it's Jake for you then, huh? Because I really didn't know where you would land.
Eddie,
I figured that in the comments I might see a lot of Oi comments because legit Oi might be the right answer for some people. But everyone in the chat, chime in. Who was your guys' most? Who was the toughest one for you guys to handle when it came to the end of their stories? And it could be anyone. It could be Father Callahan. It could be someone, or it could be Susan.
Robert literally just put in the
Charlie
chat.
Tree. Yeah, I mean that's a fucking rough one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're Jake. Do you have more?
The reason why that is like Eddie dying was not instant, so it's kind of like we got to say goodbye and everything like that, and it was heartbreaking, but the quartet was still kind of.
It still felt like it was there.
If Jake had survived, I think the quartet would have made it to the tower. I don't feel like Susanna would have left. I don't feel like Oi would have died. Jake and Roland could have washed each other's backs against Mordred.
Yeah.
Mordred would have gone for Jake. Roland would have had a chance at him because Mordred would have looked at him as like, well, why does he get to be the son and I don't? But we didn't get that.
Yeah.
And then the fact that, and this is going to get me like all choked up and everything like that, the fact that even after everything that Roland put him through, even after dropping him and everything and killing him, Jake still sacrificed himself for Roland.
Yeah.
Like, there's...
Yeah.
He's a child.
Yeah.
You know?
He's a kid.
As much as animals are... I'm such a dog person. I am such an animal person.
Yeah.
As bad as Oiz is, and Oiz is a very close second, as bad as Oiz is, Jake's is just... Seeing Roland, that's the thing for me, is my wife has affected me by... It's not the death anymore. It's how other people react to it.
Yeah.
Susanna was calm. My man's dying. I need to take care of him. I need to do this.
Yeah.
You need to stay the fuck away from me. That I can handle.
Yeah.
But Roland after Jake, like the anger, the fear, the depression, the sadness, and then the fact that Oi almost stayed with him. If it wasn't for Jake, Oi would have stayed there and fucking starved.
Just
to
died.
death.
Yeah.
He would have just died with Jake and just
at
laid
the graveside. Yeah.
next to him.
Yeah.
That is just...
That's rough. Yeah.
That's too much for me.
I think
I'm seriously getting like choked up right now. It's bad.
Yeah. Carol says, quotes Oi there. I ache. Mike also mentions Mia outside of Randall Flagg because she's such a sad character from beginning to end.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And I think that's true. I think Mia really lines up with Nadine. Because we talked about that when we covered The Stand pretty heavily in the last year or so. Whereas like Nadine may be one of the most tragic King characters, and that like it was almost like she never had a choice.
She never
like
had a chance.
Seems like she was fucked from the beginning. Like she was never.
She puts it on Larry as like, well, if Larry had taken, then we wouldn't have been.
But
here.
it seemed like she never.
Seemed like it was gonna.
No,
ever
it just
happen.
it felt like kind of like Jake. We've talked about it with our book club with book 3 recently about how much King shits on Jake, even into the first book too. I mean, he shit on Jake pretty much from the beginning. But it just feels like with Nadine, there's almost no upside.
Yeah.
Like and I think Mia is the same way. Mia is just this.
Does she ever have a good solid 5 years of happiness?
No, I mean her
orphaned as a child. I remember that from. I just recently reread The Stand this year.
Oh, you're talking Nadine. I'm talking Mia as well.
Mia's a goddamn demon. I mean,
but
it's not like she has a happy existence either.
Yeah, yeah. So it's because I think with that one's almost like a bleakness. Nadine and her and Mia, and just tying those two together because it's just for them. There's nothing. Like it's like The Mist, but only that one scene.
Yeah,
like that's their whole existence. Like there's never a moment of real hope. There's never a moment of choice. There's nothing that they could have done differently to like have things work. Because that's the other thing too. You see characters in books or movies or whatever that if they had just made a different choice,
Harold,
exactly.
Harold had 3 chances to make different choices. 3.
Yeah, and Nadine never had that.
Nadine
she never had
did.
that. So
Mia
didn't either. Mia was created as the bearer of this demon spawn. So
that was her sole purpose. That.
And she couldn't even get joy out of that. Yeah, so just that's a good one, and that's one I never would have thought of. So thank you for bringing that up because you're right, but I never would have thought of it myself. Carol says Jake is it for me, and then Jack says Jake for me. How Roland can't be by his side is a real twist of the knife from King.
That's the other thing. I thank you, Jack. I completely forgot about that. Yeah, he has to take fucking time with King and the driver of the van and all that shit. While Jake's dying.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty rough.
Like, really?
For me,
another one?
I think it's for me, it's Jake. Ultimately,
Okay.
I had a second question. I think we've already kind of filled it in, but it's basically what about that one makes it worse for you?
Yeah.
And you already mentioned, and for me, it's Oi for Jake.
Oh,
it's just like I get it for Roland,
howls.
but yeah, just the way, and then just the rest of Oi's life, his whole disposition is just he's not him anymore. Like he's not Oi anymore, and it's like I always tell people like Old Yeller is sad. Redfern Grows is worse.
It is.
Because you have the other dog having to...
What I was just saying, it's the reaction.
It's
when you see someone reacting to it that gets you so much more in the heart.
Yeah.
Because you feel for them while you're sad about it.
Yeah. And I think because like with humans, I think I give us more credit to have a little bit more coping abilities. Whereas like when it comes to a dog or a Billy Bumbler, like does he have enough reasoning to fully understand... You know what I mean? Other than the fact that he's lost his most important person. Whereas with Roland, like he's lost a lot. That's a scab for him. Or like what do you call it? What's callus? That's a callus for him. It's going to hurt, yes, but I feel like he could at least he could reason through it and be like, it's because of
He gave his life. It was noble. It was a
the-
sacrifice. It was for the cause.
there's those coping things, and like with animals, I don't know if animals have that. Like, I just
he
saw.
died.
Yeah, I saw something recently where somebody was posting, and they're like, I work at this thing, and this animal thing, and he's like, if you ever want to know how long an animal will like remember a person or like whatever, because like that's the thing I've never liked. I mean, and I know everyone has different circumstances, but like to me, it's like if you're not at a house that's very stable, you should never have an animal, because people that have to like get rid of dogs and stuff because they have to move or whatever, like that's the worst, because it's like that dog, whatever. But this guy was saying that like they had this dog and it like got all like they got it at this clinic and stuff, and eventually nobody adopted it, so they eventually became like almost like a part of the crew type thing. And I think he said it was like 6 or 7 years later, there was a news story about this dog, and somebody recognized that that's my dog that
Ran away.
that whatever,
Got
yeah.
lost.
And the dude went, and the dog immediately,
Of course.
and then
yeah.
like dude, 7-8 years, like that's like
I've heard
that's like
stories like that,
lifetimes.
yeah.
So
and animals do have that memory. It's incredible.
So for me, that's the element that makes Jake the worst for me, is because of Oi's reaction. I almost wish Oi would have died first, because I think Jake could have handled that loss better than Oi could handle Jake's loss, if that makes sense. Because Jake's a kid; he doesn't have as much as Roland, but I do think humans are a little bit more resilient, maybe emotionally, in my mind at least, than animals. Animals, they're just, especially animals like dogs and stuff. And Oi is very much like a dog.
We've seen the stories of dogs, laying outside of train stations waiting for their masters to come home. Famous stories out of Japan about that. You have ones where they're waiting at the driveway. Master died in a car accident on the way home, and they won't move.
Yeah.
I've seen ones where their masters are hurt and going into an ambulance, and they're attacking the paramedics.
Yeah.
They're like, get away from him. Leave him alone. Another one along those lines for Jake that just, it gets me, because also the father's reaction is Benny Slightman Jr.
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah. Because again, it's the reaction of the dad that
The reaction of the dad, and then also Roland talking to the dad that it should have been you.
Yeah.
That hurts.
Yeah.
That hurts me. It's like, it should have been him.
Yeah.
Fuck that guy.
Yeah. And Mike says the old people of River Crossing are also one big sad fest. And that's a big one for me too, because I've always had a soft spot for old people. So like just in general, I remember being a kid.
Oh,
and
Josh, don't bring that up.
Do you remember when you do like the angel tree, whatever things, where you'd buy gifts for like whatever? As a kid in school, I always remember arguing like, to hell with other kids, like let's buy something for an old person.
Yeah.
Everyone buys shit for kids. And I never won that argument in a class of whatever 25 people, but I always made that argument. So the River Crossing folks, that hurts me a bit too, because I feel for old people.
Jack says there's a famous dog in Scotland called Greyfriars Bobby, who sat by his master's grave for years. They have a statue in Edinburgh.
Edinburgh. Yeah.
I as soon as it was out of my mouth, I knew I had said it wrong.
Thinking Pittsburgh,
like Melbourne, yeah.
Yeah.
Like instantly I said that. And
Oh,
then
then Futurama.
Josh says, I've seen Futurama, and Jack says, no, Josh, don't go there. No. Let
me pull up a slide real quick.
That is one of these.
What if I had a slide
dude,
for that?
I would legit probably punch you. That is too much. After what I just went through the last few minutes, reliving all that, if you had that slide up, that would legit be too far.
Yeah, but no. Ultimately, what I think ultimately, I hope what that person got though is that it may not be necessarily that Oi's death is drawn out, but it's not easy. Like that's. But again, this question I had that sparked was a little bit different. Was was like, I wonder if everyone's biggest sad thing is Oi, or if there's other. Because there's competition, man. There's a lot in this story that is gives you a lot of competition for it. So, just one Palaver question. Another one. And this one's kind of hard to whatever, but basically somebody else mentions it. We'll get to it in a second. But I told you about it. There's the King Cast has an episode where they basically had a lady that has never read a single word of Stephen King at all, and she watched the Dark Tower movie, and they basically did a podcast where they talked through it with her, and she talked to some different things. But one thing that sparked when I was listening to that is, what is, like, I guess the Dark Tower's film legacy, and basically the question is what I'm thinking is, if we get a TV series, is there any element of the film that you might kind of hold as a standard to measure the series against?
The Gunslinger Creed.
Okay, because ultimately that's what, for example, my answer would be I believe Tom Holland as Jake, or Tom Taylor as Jake was absolutely incredible, and I think honestly anything they do in the future of Dark Tower, I'm going to measure them against him because I think he did such a good job. I think Roland is big enough of a character that I'm going to probably accept anyone for him.
Yeah,
because I just feel Roland's larger than life, and I feel like many people can encompass that, but Tom Taylor fucking killed it, and because that's what she was mentioning, is just how good he did as an actor and stuff, and it just made me wonder, like, is there anything that people are going to potentially say we're looking at a series 3 years from now and we're watching episodes? Is there anything we look back at the movie and kind of compare? Is there anything for you? I mean, it's tough because we all know that
Gunslinger Creed is single-handedly the best scene in the movie.
Yeah,
it gave me chills. I'm getting chills just thinking about it right now. Like getting the goose flesh and everything like that.
Yeah,
they need to do that justice, and they need to do that relationship between Roland and Jake there.
Yeah,
again.
Yeah,
kind of goes hand in hand with that scene. That scene's kind of the culmination. Thank you, of that story and everything, with Roland and Jake's relationship getting to that point where it's no longer, I'm stuck with you, kid. Now it's, hey, I'm your mentor. I'm all you got.
Yeah, Yeah,
and that's why the ending was so hard. Is that he survives? It should have been the death, and then it's the wait. There's a chance.
Yeah.
There's a chance?
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna, let's see, do an email as well, but we've got the big thing we teased last week, we threw out there, is the Stephen King quizzes for the extended quartet. So last week, there's the blank one. So briefly, split second, mine came on the screen last week. Hopefully nobody paused it and cheated. But yeah, so going through mine, I ended up getting 76%. You didn't screen grab it because you were the original one that did it.
I should have prepared a little bit more. I need to go back in our text messages and see.
Find what you so for me, let's see some of the ones I missed. I missed the long walk. That one doesn't necessarily super bum me out. Road work, not really. Cycle the werewolf, not really. Thinner, I guess for me it comes down to, is there ones I've read that I didn't get, and the long walk I've read I didn't get. Let's see, I haven't read Tommyknockers, I haven't read Rose Madder, Bag of Bones, Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon, Dreamcatcher, From a Buick 8. For the most part, I'm seeing books that I have not actually read, so that makes me feel better. On the other side, Lee's story pisses me off because I have read that, and that one actually came to my mind while I was doing the quiz.
The one with Jodie Foster. No, Julianne Moore.
Julianne Moore. I was like, the one with Julianne Moore. But then something diverted my attention. I went and did another one, and then I completely lost that thread. Blaze I missed Joyland, and I missed The Institute, which I've read not once but twice. So that one kind of bums me out a bit. Nothing super bad, but I do think Lee's story and The Institute are probably the ones that jump out the most, because The Institute just came out a couple years ago. We read it twice in like 3 months. We did it. I read it once just the first time, then we read it again for an episode. So I've read that one quite a bit. So that one is weird that I forgot. But
I forgot Misery. I got the text messages between us pulled up. I said, dude, I forgot Misery. I got 42 out of the 62.
Oh, yeah, and I got 47 out of 62.
You got 47 out of 62. I got 42 out of 62, so I missed 20. But I know that what I said here is, dude, I forgot Misery. I should have taken a picture of mine. I forgot End of Watch. That one irritated me because I knew the first two.
Yeah.
And I said that I
almost missed the middle one because I never get Mr. Mercedes and End of Watch, because End of Watch just feels right. It's just the perfect title for the last book. But the middle book is always the one that fucking You
literally say here, this is the text message you sent me. I damn near forgot the title for the middle one. I got it, but it took me some time to come up with it.
Yeah, I probably wasted a good minute just trying to think, God, what's the name of that fucking middle book? God damn it.
Yeah.
And I finally got it, but it took, that one I probably spent the most time on, of ones where I was like almost stubborn. I'm like, I'm going to miss others if I have to make sure I get this one, because I know it. So.
I didn't get Gwendy's box, which kind of irritated me because it's new and we've covered it on the show. But the one that I really wanted to highlight, I almost forgot Wolves of the Call. I got it in the last minute.
Your favorite one.
My favorite book. I almost forgot it.
And Carol says, I didn't partake because time limits give me anxiety when it comes to trivia. I go blank, which is totally fine. Honestly, I really try to not focus on I actually think I may have even gone a little bit into it before I realized the timer was there. So it didn't affect me too much, and I'm generally okay with that, but I get some people are just not. So that's totally fine, Carol. Yeah. So next, I've just got some different people that sent theirs in. So Mike sent one in.
Hey, Mike in the chat.
And he says, I think I did better than I probably should have.
You got what I got, 42.
He says, I did better than I probably should have if I would have done this before 8/20/2020 2022 show, as an example, I probably wouldn't have remembered Desperation, Regulators, or added Fairy Tale. So we just talked, we had that whole conversation on Regulators and Desperation. So I'm guessing anyone that listened to the episode and then did this quiz probably got those two at least, because we spent 20 minutes talking about those two. So but I agree though. And I'll admit with mine, there's a lot of them that I would have missed if I hadn't done this show. This show, I've mentioned a lot of stories. I've read way more than I did before, and also just looking through the list for our episodes at times and stuff, I think there's ones that just come to whatever. I'm more familiar with it because of the show. So
Mike, you forgot Wolves of the Kala.
and then
not that I could talk, I almost did too.
No, and that's the thing is it is interesting to me. So here's the thing. I'm going to pause real quick before we go into others. Anyone else that hasn't sent theirs in yet and you still want to do it, because what I am going to do is I'm going to compile.
You're going to put a list?
Compile some stuff together and get some stats and see what we could find out. What is the most missed one?
Which one was missed most?
Yeah.
Oh man, can I take it again and have mine included or
try?
No?
Yeah, try to replicate what you did before though. Don't cheat with anything.
I'm not going to cheat, but can I just take it again?
I mean, potentially, yeah.
Joseph just said it was a hard quiz. I got 43. That I took it again a few days later and got 54.
Yeah.
So
yeah. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess for me, some people sent some notes too. I don't necessarily want to go blow by blow what everyone missed, because everyone's different. I mean, if you want to point out Dark Tower, that's one thing, but I don't necessarily want to go line by line for everyone, because
I just wanted to do it because I almost forgot it, and so I don't feel so bad.
All right, next up we've got. I guess what we could have done is said the results. So Mike got 42 out of 62. So then moving on to John from Buffalo, he got his was screen grab too, so I kind of combined them together. But he got 66%. What is it? 41 out of 62. It looks like he was doing it mobile. The one thing that with his is the way the screen grab is, there's something blocking Fairy Tale, but I was able to see one letter and it's not red, so he got Fairy Tale. I kind of gave that one to everyone though. I told everyone because that was one of those ones I felt like a lot of people would have missed because they would have assumed it's not out yet, so it doesn't count. So I wanted to mention, yes, it does count, because I feel like that's cheap if you miss that one and not. So
I didn't know that would have counted.
Yeah, exactly. So because I remember actually that may have been one of the first ones I put in, because I'm like, it says 2022. I wonder if Fairy Tale or 20. Yeah, I'm like, I wonder if Fairy Tale's there, and it lit. Okay, cool. But anything jump out at you here? John didn't send any other notes along with it, which is fine. And then next up we've got Jennifer. And we actually have an email from Jennifer that's not related to this that we'll look over as well in a bit. But yeah, she didn't have the top part, so I'm not sure exactly
11,
how
12,
many.
13, 14. Shows 14 missed right there.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, but it's pretty good overall. With what everyone's getting here, it's actually pretty damn good.
It's impressive
because I did some of the other quizzes from this thing, with different musicians or whatever, and dude, not even close. So the fact that everyone's getting a pretty good bite of this apple is impressive. Everyone's doing a good job.
Yeah. Look at that! Look at that with Jennifer's just straight got it all until we got to Roadwork at the very beginning of Kings.
Yeah. And
that's pretty impressive.
That's what
early ones.
That's what I'm going to be interested to see, because for me the early ones are the easier ones, because those are just the iconic King things. It's just and honestly, because of the show and looking at lists and stuff, and also all that, I basically have kind of gone through and kind of memorized some of them, just because we keep talking about when did this come out, and those first ones, it feels like I keep going over again. So those ones are a little bit memorized to me. So next up we've got Bart from Belgium. Good to hear from Bart again. He actually has some notes here. He says, "Hi, Tad and Peter."
Hi,
Bart. He says, "Here are my results of the quiz. May it do ya." He says, "I got 41, which I thought wasn't too bad until I saw that I missed Wolves of the Kala." So,
why is everyone forgetting that? Myself included. What's going on here?
He says, "I thought I had all the Dark Tower novels, but it seems I missed one. I hang my head in shame. I've forgotten the face of my father." Says, "Pretty happy with the rest of the results. For us non-English speaking folks, there's an extra degree of difficulty, as we have to remember the original titles."
Oh, yeah. They change them overseas, don't they?
Yeah. So Bart, you might be the winner here.
Dude, well
across
done.
the board.
Well done.
He says,
sir.
"Was fun though. Curious to see how I stack up against the rest of the extended quartet. Very much looking forward to Fairy Tale. Had it on pre-order, but got news that it was delayed from September 6th to October 5th.
What?
Says, do you have the same delay on your side? Maybe it's just my seller. I have not heard a thing about that.
Don't say that.
So
Hold on.
Peter's freaking out now. But I have not heard that, Bart. I'm not sure on that. That's a strange one. He says, have you listened to the latest Kingcast? They have somebody someone who saw the Dark Tower movie but has never read any of the books, made an interesting talk in which I just mentioned. I referred to that earlier as well. Yeah, good episode. Go check it out on the Kingcast. I thought it was a fun listen.
Or still say September 6th. I'm sorry, Bart, but
And he says, keep up the good work with the pod. Bart from Belgium. He says, P.S. Hope Peter appreciates the absence of emojis. Wasn't easy.
thank you, Bart.
Bart, just do it.
The best part is
Let
I
the
don't have
emojis
to, I don't
flow
have to
through
read
you.
the emails because we try to keep me from like avoiding like spoilers and stuff like that. So Tad reads them.
But I highlight the emojis when they put them in there,
That's
though.
true, you do.
So because you need to know
Because you're the worst
about emojis.
You're terrible.
Okay, so with his, so he missed. It seems like Wolves of the Kala maybe the easiest to, because either people missed it or almost missed it a number of times
Yeah.
now. So he got 41 out of 62. Very well done. And then we got Jack. Jack says, "Hi, Tad and Peter."
Kyle.
He says, "Here's my attempt at the quiz. I did better than expected, and I have both of you to thank for that, as I've heard you talk about King's many books. So thanks for that."
Yeah.
He says, "I can't believe I missed Gerald's game and the long walk, as I just finished the long walk. But as I'm sure
yeah.
you probably said over the course of this episode, the time pressure gets to you. It certainly did me. Yeah, and I think I really probably lost like half or so of the time before I even realized there was a timer, and I think that probably helped because I was able to kind of get into a groove and just
go.
Yeah, and then it's just like whatever. But yeah, timers are stressful.
They have an option on some of the quizzes on the website that you can do it untimed. But
yeah.
this wasn't one of them.
Yeah.
So
And then he says, hope everyone who had a go did well and enjoyed the chance to take part. He says, there's another possible quiz idea. Guess a Stephen King book described by emojis. Sorry, Peter.
Oh, I'll do it. That's hella fun.
There's one on the screen. Go ahead and take a look. He gave us some examples here.
Pet Cemetery.
So it's a
Misery.
baby, a truck, a headstone, and a cat. Yes.
That's Pet Cemetery.
That's Pet Cemetery.
The second one is a book, a foot, and a hammer. That's Misery. And the third one is 3 doors. So drawing of the 3.
Yeah,
like these.
unless the middle one was 217. Have one that's a little bit opened. One of the doors.
Oh, one of the doors.
Yeah,
I was thinking
no,
middle clue.
The middle door. If the middle door.
Yeah,
is
I thought you were meaning like the middle clue. I'm like, what the hell does that have to do with The Shining?
Yeah, and then he says long days and pleasant nights and signs off. And then then he.
There you go, Jack. I did your quiz. I aced it.
But yeah, thanks everyone for joining. So I'm going to keep these, and like I said, if you're listening and you haven't done it yet and you want to do it, still send it because I want to compile some stats.
Tad's a nerd for stats. Please send it in. He gets that. He loves it.
So I'll be intrigued to see like what and it's not. And there's no judgment at all.
No.
This just purely comes down to you're looking at a list of 60-something books and how many can you name. Like it's just interesting
Jack.
which ones because like that comes down to like what's the most memorable, right? Like things like The Shining. Like I doubt anyone missed The Shining. It just seems like one that nobody would forget.
Jack, I caught what you did there. He said, "Thanks, Peter. Smashed it. Ha ha." I get what you did there. Smashed it like the foot in the Misery, the sledgehammer. Yeah, I get it.
Always a good one there.
What?
Why not? I mean, yes. Next up, we do have another section, but we haven't had the Billy Bumbler speak
We've
up.
talked
yet,
about
so.
him a lot.
We have, and his death, and wringing him like a rag, having the Predator.
Stop it.
Now, I will admit to you, this may make me a bad person in your eyes. Not truthfully, but in your eyes. Every time I wring a rag, I do think of Oi.
Oh my god.
Because that's the way King describes
Why
it.
am I friends with you?
That's the way King
You're a
describes
monster. Oh, it's the emails. Tad's gonna read us what people. Oh my gosh.
You know that's not getting deleted, right?
God damn it. Where it all started with
man.
Tad being evil is not deleting my little jingle. We're having technical difficulties and everything like that, and Ted's like, hold on, I just did a little jingle just to keep my...
Carol, thanks for joining us. Long days and pleasant nights. Carol,
Bye,
has to
Carol.
has to leave. Yes, figured you'd appreciate the fact that that I do think of that every time I'm...
You're horrible. Stop it. Stop bringing it up.
Okay, so we got the email section. Let's go ahead and get an email from Josh from Florida. I think he asked us about it recently, about if we'd read this email yet. But
Is this Josh in chat?
Yep. Yep.
Oh,
So he says, "Hi, Podslingers."
Hi.
And this did come in a little bit ago. We're not
Okay.
super far behind, but he's probably a little bit more caught up than he leads on in this email. He says, "I hope all is well. Tad and Peter, Joshua from Florida checking in. I'm writing back from Memphis, reading the drawing of the 3, and got the urge to email in. I'm still a good ways behind. Roundtable number 78 has about 8 minutes left. I'll get there." So, what are we, 126 now?
Yeah.
It's totally fine. I know exactly how it is.
yeah.
There's podcasts I love that I'm super. Sometimes I do it on purpose though, legit. Because there was one podcast I love, and I got caught completely up with it. I backlogged like 6 years of podcasts, and then I just honestly I stopped listening for almost a year because I'm like, I don't want to wait week to week.
Yeah.
So now I have almost a year's worth of podcasts to listen to because I love it, dude. I really do. So I totally get it. Not even saying that you did it on purpose, but it happens to all of us. It's really hard to keep up on all kinds of content.
Yeah, Josh in the chat.
He says, I thought I'd ask a few.
Oh, he says he gave an update. He's currently on 109, so he's catching up.
Okay, yep. He says, I thought I'd ask a few random things on my mind, maybe bring back some old topics of conversation. He says, warning, I'm a rambler, and my ADD can make my paragraphs nonsensical.
Let's do it.
Have you listened to this show? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if we have ADD,
Squirrel.
but I know that our we call it tangents, but really I mean, how many times have we stopped one of our things in this episode and suddenly like, oh, hold on, let me pause that real quick,
Yeah.
and then ask this totally different question. Number one, the roundtable was the It Chapter 2 roundtable. I definitely like Chapter 1 more, but I still like 2 more than the miniseries. I am one of the people that wishes we had a big, hairy black spider in as the final villain, but I get why Skarsgård had to have his performance. And then here's the shocker almost. Skarsgård over Curry. And he says, I wonder if that's a generational thing. He says, I'd be curious to ask who watched the miniseries upon release and It Chapter 1 and 2 upon release, but a solid 10 out of 10 set of movies. So Curry for Skarsgård. Here's the thing that's interesting. I've actually been quietly logging over the last number of months. Every time we cover an It thing, for the 99.9% of the time that we cover something and it's on the screen, I'm grabbing straight from the article. And even in this episode, we had Pennywise show up twice.
Both Skarsgård.
And I will tell you, probably 9 out of 10 times that we cover something in the last 6 months or so that I've been doing this in my head, just quietly logging, because as I'm doing prep and stuff, I'll be like, oh, an It article, open it up. What picture is it going to be?
Skarsgård.
And 9 out of 10 times, dude, it's Skarsgård. So what would have been unthinkable in 2016 when we were talking is because we said that, like, how the fuck is someone going to fill those shoes of Pennywise? And we almost even just thought it was a hopeless venture. I think you and I even mentioned, whether it was on the show or we had the show going that time, whether we mentioned on the show or not, but the Joker thing really changed both of our perspectives quite a bit, where it's like not giving Heath Ledger the time of day, and then he obviously gave a brilliant performance. So I think that helped kind of give Billy Boy a chance.
Yeah.
And I don't think we would have been closed-minded at all, but there was still a thought where it's like, there's just no way, dude, you can overcome 20 years of fucking the most iconic villainous clown of all time.
It's one of the most iconic from film. I mean, it's right. He gets put on T-shirts with Freddy, Jason, and Michael.
Oh, yeah.
Chucky, Ghostface, Leatherface. He's included in that pantheon of horror icons. It's still
and Tim Curry's a legend in and of himself. Like it's not even he's not like a one-hit wonder. Like the dude's a freaking legend. So
yeah, exactly.
But we're at a spot, dude, where, like I said, I've just been quietly logging it. I figured at some point this would come up, and I might even bring it up myself. But Josh beat me to the punch, which is totally fine, and I love to have the conversation. But dude, I think Skarsgård might be the definitive Pennywise for a lot of fucking people. For me, I'm still probably always thinking of Tim Curry, but I was raised on the 90s miniseries that it was so ingrained in me that by the time the new one came out, I don't know.
You just reread it, didn't you?
Yeah, it's
still Tim.
Oh yeah, but I think that comes down to the 20. It's like the Stand, right? There's some things from the Stand that I enjoyed the new version more, character-wise, actor-wise. But I'll be honest, I still picture the kid from the Garrus series for Harold, and there is no way that guy did better than the Harold in the new one. But 20-something years, Harold Lauder has been one person in my head, so it's really hard to overcome that.
It's hard to pry someone out of that spot in your mind.
And even Flag, like I think Skarsgård. I mean, I love both Flags, but there's been more than two. But we're talking The Stand here. I love Jamie Sheridan, and that's what's been in my head for a long time. For him, he's kind of transforms between the two. When I was reading The Stand the last time, some scenes are Jamie Sheridan, other scenes are Skarsgård. It just which fits Flag too, right? To have different faces, but overall, it's. Time is hard to beat, and so for me it's Curry, but that's not a judgment at all. In Skarsgård, I don't think for me it ever could have overcome the just Pennywise, like the what is the thing where instant word associations. For me, it's Curry. That's immediately comes to mind. But that's not to say that when I see Skarsgård, I don't go, oh fuck yeah, Pennywise. Like so Skarsgård's great. What about you?
It's Skarsgård.
Yeah,
I didn't grow up with it.
Yeah.
I got introduced to it post high school.
Yeah.
I've watched it twice.
I've
watched it, chapter 2 and it to the 2017 more. Even though my wife doesn't allow me to watch it when she's home, that kind of thing. But still, it's Skarsgård. Honestly,
he does a great job. He really does.
Job.
And they did him a lot of favors. They redesigned Pennywise so he wasn't exactly explained in the book.
Yeah.
The way he's explained in the book is Tim Curry's. Like, the way his outfit's described. But I think that Muschietti and them knew if we put him in the same costume as the book calls for, it's going to only harm his ability for people to differentiate. So I think that's the best thing they did.
It's going to pull people out of the movie going, well, Tim Curry did that part better. Well, Tim Curry did that
exactly.
better. But with them making the changes and the visual change especially, with different costume and different makeup and everything like that.
Yeah.
It was very easy for me to be like, God, this Pennywise is creepy.
Yeah.
And then it just was like, oh my, partway through the first time seeing the first movie, it was, oh my God, this it stopped being this Pennywise. It was just, oh my God, Pennywise is here.
Yeah.
It was done by the middle of the first movie for me.
Yeah.
And so when chapter 2 was coming out, it was just like, I can't wait to see Pennywise again.
Yeah.
And so it kind of happened that first time seeing it that Skarsgård took over.
Yeah.
And I just haven't acknowledged it, honestly.
Yeah.
But when I close my eyes and I picture Pennywise, I'm honestly the first thing that pops into my head is the dancing scene.
Yeah.
That dancing scene is, dude, it's there, like, oh my God.
Where's the for the
Chad
camera.
just pulled that out of his desk drawer. What the hell?
The one that's behind me, he has different heads if you want the sharp jagged teeth and the demon eyes.
Yeah.
You could swap the heads out.
Oh,
so,
Josh, yeah.
So yeah, I have that in the desk here.
Oh yeah, Josh absolutely understand where you're coming from. He says, please do not make the mistake that I think Tim Curry was bad.
No, not at all.
He was amazing.
No.
Absolutely. This is not a which one's better even. This is just what you think of.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Like
it's no judgment on the performances.
Exactly.
Also, there's the long green hands too. You could swap his hands out to have those demon hands. But
you got your Stephen King, your Caw thing that you 3D printed, and then Pennywise.
Yep, indeed. Yeah. So love. Honestly, though, I have also thought I want to find a scale of the Skarsgård one because I want to get him up there too.
You want him up there as
well? Yeah, I actually found one at Best Buy one time, but it was like way too. It was like almost a 12-inch figure. I was just like, nah, that's not going to work. Next point, it says, Tad, did you ever read Dune? My dad tried to get me to read that book for years. When I finally did, I fell in love. Fun fact, once I finished the series, a friend told me about this cool series called the Dark Tower series. Ever heard of it? I had never read King before. No, okay. I was hoping to read Dune before the movie came out, but honestly, there's too much that wasn't jiving in my head. I couldn't keep things straight. The audiobook wasn't doing it because, like, for me, sometimes when it's like something that's so expansive, sometimes it sounds weird, but like the shape of the word becomes the identifier for me. It's not even that I'm reading it. I could just see the shape of the word where it's like whatever. And it's like, and that becomes kind of the face.
Like from The Stand, when you see stew or when you see flag with the 2 G's. I could associate that.
Whereas with the sound, for some reason, the sound doesn't do it as well for me. To where, like, if it's just this massive scene and like you're listing 15 characters, if it's audio, I can't fucking keep that straight, man. Like, it's gonna be tough. And with a book, if I'm reading it, I can always go back and be like, wait, which one was this again? And like, oh, okay, yeah, this is the guy that, like,
was this the guy at the end of chapter 1 that did that thing?
Yeah, I could do it, but with audio, you just don't. So I moved over to Kindle on that one, but honestly, I just didn't get around to it. But I did go see see the new movie, absolutely adored it, and I do want to give it another try. And I actually think that's going to help me because now I have some of those names more solidified. Because honestly, the original Dune series I watched as a kid, and I haven't watched it since I was a kid though, and I don't think it's worth watching again. It's pretty bad in some elements. But watching the new one, I think it's going to help me actually go through and read the books because I think now I'll be able to be like, oh, hear a name. Oh yeah, that's freaking what's his name? Skarsgård, Stellan Skarsgård, the dad. Or oh, that's so I'm gonna definitely make a try to go back at it. I do know that's probably one of the most well regarded fantasy series of all time.
Josh says, Ted, the first time I read Dune, I had to take notes. The book had a dictionary in the back.
Yeah, that's kind of what I probably need. And so I do think when I do end up reading it, even though the movies help me like solidify what some of those people look like, I still don't think
Batista.
I still don't think I'm going to be able to do an audiobook. I think I'm going to have to go through the first time and read it. And then once I'm way more familiar with it, I'll be able to go back and do an audiobook. But yeah, which is not a knock on at all. It's just, it's a broad story with a lot of characters.
It's not something to listen to while you're driving,
and
or
shit, no.
working or something like that. Jack says, I was the same, Tad. It took me a while to get into Dune, but once I did, it was great. Took me a second to get all the politics cleared up.
Yeah.
So.
And I think that's maybe where the movie helped me a little bit. I think I have way more of an understanding of like kind of the political things and like some of the names of the different thing, like not people, but like groups of people and stuff. So I think that's actually going to help me quite a bit to go back and read it and be able to really get it. So I think, and honestly, that movie was fucking incredible.
It was so good.
Denis Villeneuve is just a genius, and I can't wait to see more from him in the Dune series. Villeneuve, I think is how you say it. Yeah. Okay. So then, anything else I'm missing? Let's see.
Yeah, he says Herbert drops you into a built universe, but you have to figure it out, much like Stephen King. I love it.
Yeah, it definitely. I just don't think any of Stephen King's stuff is ever that broad. Like, because even the Dark Tower series is huge and expansive, but it doesn't start that way.
Well, even if
he introduces you with a small thing, and then like slowly you build new characters in, and it's like
but even if he drops Jake in the middle of the first book, where it's he's talking about a Cadillac and he's talking about school. That's our world right there.
But I think what I'm talking like is in terms of like trying to get up, and I think the biggest time that King ever really like kind of dunes you, quote unquote, where he like really drops a shitload on you all at once is book 5. That whole fucking town. And you've got to like try to start keeping people straight and stuff, and like the
Jaffords, the Overhosers,
and what their place is and all of it. Like, but outside of that, like you have a pretty slow drip of characters throughout. It's where I think, and I don't know if he did that on purpose, but he never has a thing where you're going to need a dictionary for the Dark Tower series until maybe book 5. So
Well, then he's talking about Josh is talking about how his last name's pronounced.
Okay. Then that number. Okay. Then he has number 3. What is the difference between high speech and low speech? Is it the same language? And he says, I think it is. My opinion is that high speech is proper grammar, spelling, respect, titles given. Low speech incorporates slang and local dialects. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Yeah, I don't think that King ever really. I mean, he's not writing really in different languages. So like, it really comes down to how you let your mind fill it in. Like, so in your mind, if we had a scene in a movie where Roland was talking to somebody in a bar in low speech, and then he moves to another scene and there's high speech, in that movie, do you picture there being a difference at all?
I picture it like Old English, where it like
a little bit more formal, like, and ye's and thous,
but also I think that they have an accent. I think they go from an American accent to like a British.
I think that's how I've always viewed it too.
How I've always pictured it in my head is like, I cry your pardon, sir. Going from I can't do a good British accent to save my life. Please don't hold that against me. But that's what I picture is like, like when you address me, you use the high speech. Like I think of court. That. And I picture him, right into the formal, into the sir and ye and everything like that. But I think would be the way that I would picture it depicted.
I think the thing is like when he's asking here, he says high speech is proper grammar, spelling, respect, titles given. What I think that comes down to is like, okay, get like I just watched Better Call Saul, but like same idea as Breaking Bad. Okay, when you have Jesse Pinkman on the street, how does he talk versus if he were in court in front of a judge, how's he going to talk? It's on a different language, but there is a vastly different way that he's addressing things. And I think that's probably in my mind what it comes down to is just there's an elevated nature. And that could also mean ye's and thous. It could mean more of an accent. But for me, I've always pictured it more.
Sir, madam, that kind of thing also on top of it. Maybe not necessarily like ye and thou like the Bible says.
Or your honor for a judge.
Honor,
and
your honor for a judge.
Yeah.
Mr., Sir.
There's a scene.
Ma'am.
There's a scene from Succession that I need you to watch.
Okay.
It's a dude going before Congress, and he's just like kind of a young, dopey dude, and he just
like, "Brah."
he tries to start doing like. Just like so it should be said, like he starts like saying these weird ass things, and they're just like, you can talk to us normal, and it's like a Senate hearing or something.
Oh, okay.
But he's like trying to be like formal, but he's just such an idiot. It's glorious.
Yes, Josh. He said so. Same English, just dialect, vernacular.
Yes. That's how I
the
view
thing
it.
is that
yeah.
I think that if you look at it with like Old English, where if you've ever heard someone talk Old English, it's like, what the fuck did he just say?
Here's the curveball I'm going to throw at you, though. There's a distinction between high speech and low speech with text. So how does that how do we interpret that? Because remember, there's times with us,
that's why I always took it as like Old English, is because when you look at Old English, the alphabet's completely different.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't have 26 letters in Old English, if I remember right.
Yeah.
So it's vastly
Like
different.
if
That's what I always thought, and with it being Arthurian, the guns were made from the steel of Excalibur. I mean, it makes sense that it's Old English. That's why, just like logically in my brain, that's where I went.
Yeah. The text thing always threw me off a bit, and like there's part of me that's just like, cool, in the book it's all the same. So I just figured it was one of those like, oh, it's the Hunt for Red October, but they're all speaking English. But
Yeah.
we know in like reality
Chernobyl.
they're speaking German or Russian.
Yeah, Chernobyl.
Yeah, exactly. So that kind of thing. That's kind of how I maybe envisioned potentially the high speech, low speech. But for the most part, no. I think it's probably more comes down to like grammar and that kind of stuff.
First world problems right here. I had water left in this last time I took a drink. My water bottle's so good that it's frozen solid. It's all one chunk of ice in there now. I have no water left. Damn it.
Oh. And then next up, he's got number 4. He says, I'm dreading getting to the roundtable about the Dark Tower Amazon series dying. It's roundtable 90. I have it marked. Ugh.
Oh.
So here's the best part, and I'm just going to clue you in, Josh, right now.
Josh watched it. He's past that. He's in 109 now.
But there's another one coming. Because there's when it dies, remember? And then there was like a number of episodes later when
we get the details from
all the details of what it would have been.
That was so much worse.
That was so much worse. So Josh, you may have already passed that one, but there is so much worse. I think it's around, I don't remember what number it was, where basically Mazzara did some interviews and he basically let everything out in terms of what his plans would have been. And oh my God, it gets worse. Yeah. It gets so much worse. Oh man. Then we got Rachel says there are instances where Roland can read some modern English letters. I think it's similar to how E and E are the lowercase e and uppercase E are the same but look different. Yeah, because that's the thing too. Because there's times and I don't know. It's really tough because our letters and their letters, because also are the like American Quartet members. There's times they can and can't read signs and stuff. So
there's also times where Roland can't either. He's like, I can only read every 5th word
in our world. Mm-hmm. So it's just it's kind of one of those things. I don't think I've ever tried to think about it too hard because I don't think there's any real silver bullet to it. I think it's always going to be kind of like malleable, like everything else in this series. There's nothing that's like. Yes, like there's always an element of like, oh well, King says that Flag is Farson, and but then in the story it seems like he's not, and like it's part of the weirdness of the series.
Josh says that he has passed the details episodes, and he said it was beautiful,
but painful.
Beautiful and painful.
I thought it was a little ways past, but maybe it wasn't that far past.
Yeah.
Wasn't
that's 9
wasn't
episodes,
the bad
sir.
news like right around the end of the year too, or the very beginning of the next year?
It was how we started off the year.
Yeah.
It was in January.
Yeah, and then it was probably by February, March that I think that we had the details.
Yeah, and he's 109, so that's only a couple episodes. I mean, but when you look at it, we only do 2 episodes a month.
Yeah, exactly.
That's 4 months right there that he went.
And he says, well, I think that's all I got for now. I'll drop in some live shows. Maybe I'll catch this email being read, which of course you did. There's only 45 roundtables to go to catch up in the book clubs. Hopefully I'll be caught up by 2023, which that sounds like a joke, but it's not. True. Yeah, there's not that much left of 2022. It says, P.S. Eventually I'll finish the new Stand series and write an email about that. I just listened to the episode about casting Flag and Mother Abigail. Mm-hmm. He says, see the attachment. I think I've got it.
I hope you do.
Or yeah, I do. There we go. Except we are blocking it. Let me. I've got just slides. Or no. There we go. Slides only.
Push all the buttons. Hey, it's Tad.
Yeah. Here's what he's sharing with us, and he says
Flag Street.
He says name right down the road from me. Flag Street. Now, you are living in a glorious place.
I'd move if I were you.
You are living in a wonderful place.
That's
in fact,
dangerous.
I would be looking to move on to Flag Street. That's
Is
what
there
I
a
would.
Flag Street in Utah?
I hope so. And it has to be spelled with 2 G's, too. Can't just be 1 G, or that doesn't count. That's awesome. And then he says, long days and pleasant nights. Likewise, Josh, and I know you're in the
you.
chat, which always makes it kind of weird that we're talking to you. But then I also jumped over it. But, we're Jennifer has a short email I want to read because it was follow-up to some of the stuff last time that we talked about, and she sent her list as well. But she says Cujo specifically references the Dead Zone in several ways. Sheriff Bannerman is in both books, and the serial killer from the Dead Zone is talked about in Cujo as a possible dark spirit in the town, in the kid's closet, and possibly possessing Cujo. And you and I actually talked about that off air.
Mm-hmm.
Where there's like the whole thing. Now, I want to read Cujo. I actually think that's pretty high on my list now because the Castle Rock stuff, and then now some of this. And then she says, I don't remember which books you have read, so I'm keeping it vague. Also, it's been years since I've read either. But yeah, thank you, Jennifer. I love those updates when we're kind of like not entirely sure. But so those are Cujo and Dead Zone. Because our conversation was where was the earliest reference of king to other king. So Cujo. What did she say? Cujo and
Dark Half?
the Dead Zone. So the Dead Zone is, where is the Dead Zone? Right there. So number 8. So 1979, and then Cujo is in 1981. So you're talking pretty early.
Yeah.
You're talking top 8, 8 to 11 realm. So King let some time pass potentially before there's any solid references. Like we don't hear about a girl destroying her town in Salem's Lot or anything like that. So, but yeah, that's kind of cool to backtrack and find where the earliest time that King started connecting things to his universe.
Oh my God.
What, Flag Street?
There's a Flag Street school in Massachusetts.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, it's terrible to see that up on a side of a building for children.
I love that. I love that. What wasn't there?
It's an elementary. No.
Didn't they put a flag name up in the new series on the hotel? Like there was a banner or something covering the name of the real hotel, and it said like flag or something like that. I
Yeah.
thought so. Yeah, that's all great. I love that.
Ugh.
Yeah, gotta love the flag stuff. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this episode of a jam-packed episode. But yeah, everyone again with your quizzes, if you want to do the Stephen King quiz and have it included in the statistics, send those in still. You're free to do those anytime. I'm gonna build something probably before the next episode, which the next episode though is a book club.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a book club. So we will be at late September on Roundtable 127 on the 24th of September before we'll be able to get to that. So you got plenty of time to send those in if you want to be part of the statistics, because that's what I want to do is I want to just, and I don't know how it's going to all calculate out, but I wonder if there's going to be like ones that are way more missed, and I'll just get like some charts that just show like
all of them
misses and see how they rank and stuff across. So send your stuff in if you want to be part of that.
Just do 'em all.
Check the show notes from last time. It's called Sporkle is the name of the website, but the show notes for Roundtable 125 have the links to that, so you can click on that. And then I guess I can go back to this because we're on the email screen. But yeah, you can go get that link, do your quiz, send them in, and I'll have stats for you at the end of September. There's September 24th. And then, next time we're going to be following Oi through the maze.
Yeah.
Trying to follow Jake that's being pulled away.
And Eddie and
by
Susanna,
Gasher. Winston.
Yeah.
Killing Winston on his birthday.
On his birthday.
And we might get a rag ringing.
Stop it.
So yeah, we'll go ahead and hit the closing stuff. If you want to subscribe to us on your any podcast delivering service of your choice, you can do that. You can stream us on Spotify or Stitcher. You can join our live streams at youtube.com/darktowerpalaver. Like you heard in this episode, plenty of interactions to be had on these live streams. If you want to find the show notes, do that at darktowerpalaver.com. I'll have a link for all the stuff we covered in this, including the thing to where if you want to apply for that Stephen King
13 horror films.
13 horror films, including Creepshow. Go ahead. You can find all the links there at the show notes, darktowerpalaver.com. If you want to support us on Patreon, you can do that at patreon.com/darktowerpalaver. And then Peter can let you know how to contact us to potentially send us maybe some symbol monkey pictures, some Fluffy from Creepshow. If you want to send pictures of those kind of things, how can they do that, Peter?
Just stop it.
How can they do that?
The best way to reach us is email. It's darktowerpalaver@gmail.com. And then our social medias is at DarkTowerPod. That's at DarkTowerPod for the Twitter. And then Facebook is facebook.com/DarkTowerPalaver. Instagram is DarkTowerPalaver, all one word with no spaces. And then check out our merchandise. It's on TeePublic. It's teepublic.com/users/DarkTowerPalaver.
Yes, indeed. And we will be back in a fortnight for book club. I don't remember what number. It's book club number 18 for The Wastelands. And we'll be back on that on September 10th, and we'll be here for a live stream, so a fortnight from now. So join us if you can, and we'll sign off as we always do on the podcast by saying long days and pleasant nights.
Long days and pleasant nights, folks.
All right, everyone in the chat, thank you guys for joining us. Thank you guys for the kind words here at the end. Mike says, great show. Love the 190-plus minute episodes. I didn't know how long this one would go. It really came down to that list, that 15. Because, dude, there's sometimes we breeze right through some of those lists and don't have as much discussion. So I was just
when
like...
you're asking for people's opinions, that's where you know it's going to take a little while.
Even still, sometimes there's times I'm like, oh, this will take a while. Then we get through in like 10 minutes. I'm like, damn. That was weird. So I never know. But yeah, this one went a little longer. But yeah, thank you guys for joining us. You guys are awesome. We'll be back in a couple weeks for a book club.
Yep. You literally just said it. You know it's a book club, Ted. Come on.
Well,
have confidence. It's a book club.
I think I started like thinking, is there like something? No. It's just next time is the book club.
Yep.
So yeah, we'll sign off. See you guys next time.
Bye, everyone.